Fantasy?
Film.
Fight! What'd you fucking say?
Fantasy.
Film fight.
I still don't get it.
Fantasy.
Fight!
You take the pick of the litter.
We take it in turns.
Someone just gotta go first.
And then
The next person.
they just go round and round.
That's what.
We call it
Fantasy.
fight. You win some, you lose some.
Anything can happen.
So,
Who are you going with?
who you picking?
Today.
Fantasy.
Film.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode number 55 of Fantasy Film Fights, the show where we take a random film topic and we draft it fantasy style. As always, over here, my co-host, Mr. Tony Heald. Tony, how are you doing today? Are you looking forward to this one?
I am. This is a very interesting one. I was like, some people may have bigger lists than me on this panel, but I feel that like it's been an interesting one, just going through and just going, oh shit, they did this. Like, so it's going to be fun.
I think it's going to be fun too. And we have a fantastic panel joining us to draft double duty today. Little explanation of what that is someone who did two things on a movie: directed, acted, wrote, directed, whatever, some combination of those. Maybe they did more than that. We'll find out. But the panel we have joining us, let me introduce them to you right over here. This way. Sorry. One of these days I'm going to get it right. Niko. Niko is a newbie. Niko, how you doing?
Good. How about you?
I'm hanging in there. Hopefully that is the only flub I have. I doubt that'll be the case, but still hanging in there. Happy to have you with us, sir.
Thank you so much. Should be fun.
Should be fun indeed. Down over here in the corner. Joining us once again, Mr. Aaron J. Aaron, I hear you've got a very long list for this one.
Yes. Not that size matters, but if it did, then maybe I would win this one. This list, I should say. Good to be here. Good to see some friends in the chat. So Patrick brings out the Schmodown stars. Sabrina, Peggy shows up to her own show. It's crazy. So but I'm glad to be here. I'm super excited to whoever I'm in front of steal some of their picks today because I'm going to break some hearts.
I'll be interested to see that. Down below me, the aforementioned Patrick. Patrick, newbie on the show as well. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fantastically, Peggy. Thank you for asking.
Well, I'm glad to hear it and happy you're with us. And then last but certainly not least, returning once again, Mr. Scott Harvey. How are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm a little unorthodox up here because I'm on my phone. It doesn't sound really bad. I just saw everyone with the brace.
Kind of it. Let me
breaking up a little.
Let me just quickly try and quiet you down a little bit, see if that helps.
Say something again.
How about now?
A little better.
Anyway, that's nice.
A little better.
It's but yeah, I'll try to make this work in the meantime.
Technical difficulties, you love them.
Hopefully you can get that sorted out. But we've got some things to handle in the interim. Tony, we got to figure out draft order. How are we going to do that?
Absolutely. So the way this works is that because I am playing this week, Peggy has got a numerical question. We're all going to give an answer to it. Whoever gets closest gets to pick the orders, who gets to pick who goes first, who goes in the middle, who takes it in the rear, all that jazz.
Yep. All right. So, gentlemen, your question. Scott, hopefully you can hear me. Hang on. We should wait. Well, let's wait for you to get settled because you're going to need to write a number down for me.
Yep. I'm good. So.
You good? All right. So, since we are drafting double duty, I decided to go with a Rotten Tomatoes score of a movie from 1999 called Double Jeopardy. Have you ever heard of this one? You guys familiar with this one? Tommy Lee Jones, Ashley Judd.
Oh, yeah.
What is the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes for Double Jeopardy? Closest to the actual
audience, you said?
Audience. Not the tomato meter or whatever the other one was. The audience score.
It's a great movie. Great choice.
It is an underappreciated one, I say. She wears some fantastic gowns in that one.
Yeah, I was on a cruise ship. Not that anybody asked. Back when this movie was like new, and it was one of like the 4 movies on the movie channel. This, Blue Streak. I forgot the other ones, but I saw this in Blue Streak.
Titanic.
I'm not. No. Something worse.
The Poseidon Adventure.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah. Okay.
Anyways, all right. Everyone got a number 5, 4,
Just got the
3,
Titanic joke.
2,
Sorry, I'm slow.
1. All right, we're gonna go around the horn. Niko, what did you write down?
I went with a crisp 76%.
76. Aaron.
I said I'm here to break hearts. I went 77.
Patrick.
This movie is not good. I currently went 36%.
36.
That's like
Scott.
your opinion, man.
But sometimes audiences like not good stuff, so I said 70.
70. And Tony, since you're the one playing along.
So I guess I'm breaking hearts as well, and also being childish. I went 69%.
69%.
Nice.
Please be
Well,
that.
I'm sorry. The honor of selecting draft order goes to my co-host because it was 61%. Always disappointing when one of the hosts gets to set the order, I think. But it is what it is. So, Tony, it falls to you, sir. Who's going first? Who's going last?
I think I'm going to put Scott last because technical difficulties, and I was going to ask whoever won to put him last.
It's fair.
So, screw it. What we'll do is we'll do reverse order. So, start from Niko, work our way round to me.
Great.
Oh, shit.
Sorry, Patrick.
This is the worst possible thing that could have happened.
Sorry, Patrick. Looks like I'm getting Sabrina's vote.
Yep. I know exactly what movie he's taking now.
Oh, okay. Let's
Niko might step in and
if he takes it, more power to him. I know what movie Aaron's taking.
Yeah, sorry.
So just to confirm, so the order's going to be Niko, Aaron, Patrick, Scott, myself. Myself.
Okay.
Might as well get the show on the road. Niko, you're officially on the clock for the first overall draft pick of Double Duty.
So my pick for my first film is probably the one that everyone goes to, at least any discerning cinephile. It is The Wonderkin, made back in 1941. It is Orson Welles with Citizen Kane. He acted in it, co-wrote it, he directed it, he produced it. Everyone lives up to the standard. It's Orson Welles. What more can I say about the guy?
I see Aaron nodding your head. Is that the one you were going for?
That wasn't the one I was going for, but I think that is such a great sign of things to come in this draft with the participants today. I think Citizen Kane is like what the face of this draft should be, even though he does triple duty in the movie. But it's, the more the better. But yeah, this lives up to the hype. If you haven't seen it, do yourself a favor and see this. It's just kind of it's worth it, and it's really amazing the amount of work he did at the age he was.
Yeah, and for everyone watching at home, we thought about limiting it had to be just 2 elements, but we didn't think we could get a whole field and be able to do triple duty. Maybe we could have, but we're allowing it.
We could have got a triple duty, but it would have mean we'd have to talk a lot about Woody Allen, and I don't want to talk about Woody Allen.
Fair.
Yeah.
Anybody else have this one on their list?
I mean, it was on my list, yes. But.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes on to say. Go ahead, Scott.
Oh, I was going to say I didn't have it, but it's definitely an obvious choice. I don't fault anyone for picking it. I had a disagreement with an unnamed co-host. Y'all all know who my co-host is, so I'm just obfuscating it for no reason. But he watched Mank before watching Citizen Kane this year, and was like, "I really think you should have to watch Citizen Kane before you watch this movie." And I was like, "Yeah, and you should appreciate that opportunity to watch one of the greatest movies of all time." So there you go.
So it was 2 nights ago. Christina V from Digesting Cinema and also the Schmodown. We were in a chat together, and she watched it Citizen Kane for the very first time, and she didn't know what Rosebud was. And I was just like, I was there just like, how? Nothing in my life, like.
Do you know how jealous I am that she got that reveal completely organically, though? That's amazing. She also. Her ignorance is a time machine, Tony.
I wish I could recapture that experience of watching it for the first time. Nothing's yet to happen.
I look like a criminal right now. What does that mean? Don't even tell me what kind of criminal, actually. I don't even want to know. Yeah, I got it.
He looks like an undercover FBI agent in a van, with the hat pulled low.
I'm not a narc.
He's a narc.
You're about 3/4 of your Unabomber costume, I can tell.
Another thing is an inside joke.
God, I
That's
I picked out my outfit all day. I picked a gray hoodie, the dad hat that Anthony got me, Christina's husband.
All right. Back on track. Citizen Kane is officially off the board. Excellent pick, Niko. Aaron, over to you.
Yeah, Patrick knows my pick, and this was, it definitely was draft dependent if I was going to go with this, but it has to go first round. It's one of the best movies of the last decade, if not longer. And some people's I think favorite movie of all time, if he's told me before, but I'm going to take it. It's Celine Sciamma's Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Beautiful, beautiful romance. And just a fantastic movie. I got to see this in theaters, so definitely a heightened experience. But regardless of where you see this, I think it's pretty unforgettable once you see it. It's a really beautiful romance, and I just feel the final kind of shots are some of the best shots ever put on screen, and truly breathtaking. So, speaking of breathtaking, Rory's here.
Rory's making an appearance. Hi, baby.
On Fire. But yeah, this once either me or Patrick are gonna take it. I'm gonna just take it. It's business, Patrick. It's all it is. I love it too. But I'll let Patrick talk about this too because he's gonna be much more eloquent. But I know this was on his head.
This was my number one pick. If I didn't have it, and it was available, I'd be lying to myself if I didn't take it. It is my favorite movie of all time. I think there's so much about it. I could wax poetic about it for hours on end, but I'll spare you my lunacy and just say that Adele Haenel is the best working actor on the face of the planet. And the one thing that I think not a lot of people take away from this movie is that the color palette is one of the most vibrant yet subtle things I have ever seen on film. It is truly spectacular.
Yeah, I gotta admit, I have not seen this one. Hopefully somebody else on the panel has and can elaborate. Niko.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, I envy that you got to see it in theaters. I was about to, and then COVID hit.
Yeah, I caught it right in time.
Exactly. So I got to experience it and on Hulu on my laptop, and it was like Citizen Kane for the first time on a laptop, and it was still those final moments in particular stand as some of the most astounding film I've seen of the past 5 to 10 years. It's without giving anything away, but it's one of those films you can't give much away about. It's just it washes over you, and the choices are so astute and they're so fine, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful movie. So I think that's a stellar pick.
Yeah, I'm kind of embarrassed to say this because this movie is way up my alley, and a bunch of people whose opinions I hold in very high regard also hold this movie in high regard. But I started this movie around the time people were talking about it, got about 30 minutes in, and it was just moving very slowly for me. And I have yet to return to it. Again, I think if I do and I just lock in, I'm going to love it because, again, it's very much up my alley. Everyone that I value their opinions loves this movie. But I just haven't gotten around to re-watching it / watching it for the first time again.
Interesting. I'm gonna have to check this one out.
Tony, you seen it? I have. So I always have this thing where I always go the gay films, they're actually not that great. This one is one of the best ones of all time. LGBTQ, anything about it. It's just for whatever reason, when French lesbian films are just incredible. It's of the 21st century. Blues the Warm Color, Portrait of a Lady on Fire. If you please go watch it. It's an incredible film, and it got even though Les Mis, not the musical, the French film that got Oscar nominated, is really fantastic.
Yeah,
people should watch that as well. This one not winning best foreign language just got absolutely robbed.
It's going to be one of those films that people look back on in 20 years as sort of a foundational moment in turning particularly I think queer cinema and putting it in the mainstream. It is going to be one of those foundational films that people have in their canons.
We're gonna have to check this film out. Damn.
Yeah, well said, Patrick. This is why I'm glad that he's on here. Patrick's awesome.
I was gonna say as well, even now, it's people are already starting to copy it. You had that film from last year, Ammonite, which was done by Francis Lee, who did fantastic with God's Own Country. Then he tried to turn it around, dude. Just like, I'm going to do Portrait of a Lady on Fire, but in English, and it just didn't work.
But if we want to play that game, Carol did it first 4 or 5 years ago. So.
But also, Desert Hearts did it in 1985, so we can go on.
Yeah, we can definitely go back even
Yeah.
further than that.
Not all lesbian romances are created equal, I think, is the point of our.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely worth seeing, though, for sure, Peggy. Add it to the never-ending list.
Yeah, I will add it to the very, very long list of movies that were recommended based on this show that I have yet to get to. But Patrick, I am so sorry that one was taken ahead of you, but you are officially up. What you got?
I emotionally prepared myself once I found out Aaron was drafting ahead of me. So now we have to go to the 2 other categories that, if anyone knows me, I have to take one film from each of these 2 categories, and I will be spending my first 2 picks. My first one will be from my favorite person in English Hollywood. It is my second favorite movie of all time. It is Charlie Kaufman's Synecdoche, New York.
Yeah.
It is, for my money, probably my favorite Philip Seymour Hoffman performance, which is saying a lot because it's Philip Seymour Hoffman. It is incredibly neurotic, incredibly dense, and it is everything that I love about incredibly neurotic and dense film. It is not for everybody. I will say that right off the bat. It is very tough to get into. It is very obtuse and at times very inaccessible. But I think if you're able to sit down and enjoy it, there is a lot of deeper meaning behind sort of the ideas of success, how much we value success, and the idea of not just work-life balance, but the notion of so heavily wanting to be remembered. And I truly believe this is a masterpiece. And I know at least Roger Ebert agrees with me.
Well, you got that going for you. I can't say I've seen this one. Anybody have this on their list? I'm Aaron. Makes sense.
Yeah, I love this movie. Got to erase one off my board, so thank you for that. I need the space. This movie is it's Charlie Kaufman, I think, his masterpiece. So as much as I love I'm Thinking of Ending Things, I think this is just kind of it perfect. And it isn't for everybody, just like not any movie is, but particularly a movie like this. And just with a lot of Philip Seymour Hoffman movies and his roles really take a haunting presence to him after you know what kind of ended up happening with him, and like you just see the demons he's trying to work out through so many of these characters, and particularly in this movie where it involves like an aging storyline, we'll say. It's heavy. It's a heavy one, but it like sticks with you for a long time, and it's definitely one that I recommend rewatching if people have seen it only once too. But it's a tough one to get through, but it's worth it.
Good to know. Anybody else have this on their list or willing to throw in 2 cents on it?
I've seen almost all, if not all, of Charlie Kaufman's movies except for this one. I do hear it is pretty impenetrable, but I mean, I've come to expect that just from seeing his other movies to some extent. But Being John Malkovich is an absolute favorite of mine. I'm Thinking of Ending Things I love. So I am sure that I will appreciate this movie on some level when I get around to it, because I am a fan, and I was looking at Kaufman for this draft and what movies could I possibly have on my long list. But, couldn't put this one in there because I haven't seen it.
Hey, Caro in the chat, anytime anyone uses the word pensive, I immediately think of 10 things I hate about you. Don't ask why. Anybody else on Schenectady, New York, or shall we move over to Tony's pick?
No, Scott, Mick.
It's me next, I think, right?
Yeah,
oh, shit. Did you put yourself at
we're
the
going
end?
we're going in horseshoe. But yeah, Charlie Kaufman's someone that I need to give more time to, because I'd like to turn on Sunshine of a Spotless Mind, but then I think I actually tried watching the Anomalisa like recently, and then just going, what the fuck is this?
Tom Noonan.
That's the single best credit in movie history. It's Jennifer Jason Leigh, David Thewlis, and then Tom Noonan as everyone else.
You put up with me, Tony. You can put up with another neurotic Jew who's way more talented.
I can name 4 or 5.
Yeah. It's a whole nother fantasy.
Anyways, all right. All right, Patrick takes Schenectady, New York. Scott, over to you. What you got?
All right. So I was the one who was specifically asking about whether we could take somebody who has done all three in the same movie, because there's one that I had in mind. I want this to be my first pick, and fortunately it's still there. Somebody who writes, directs, and has pretty much a starring role in this movie that I consider objectively one of the best movies of all time. And the person is Spike Lee. The movie is Do the Right Thing.
You son of a bitch.
Yeah. I'm glad to know that people have this on this list. But yeah, this movie is incredible. It is still one of the most relevant movies when you think about just what we experienced last year with, police brutality and the rioting and everything going on in our country during the summer. But it's also just like a great ensemble, like hangout movie. The whole cast is great. Great music. It just gives you it has that great sense of like time and place that Spike Lee is always very good at evoking, because he knows Brooklyn very well. And yeah, I just don't see how you can watch this movie and not, feel how relevant it is and feel emotionally captivated by it. And his performance too, because his performance is really good. It's one of the best in the movie, if not the best. So I wanted to pick a Spike Lee film. This was the obvious choice, but I had to make sure it qualified first. And so I'm glad it did, because it's my easy number one pick here.
No, it's a solid pick. I saw a reaction from Aaron on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I love this draft. I'm going to be raising my hand a lot because auteurs are my favorite types of filmmakers. So it makes sense. Like, I kept making my list. It was like my top 20 are pretty much all fit in this category almost. And this is definitely in my top 5, top 10, probably. And it's just like, yeah, it's an incredible film. It's beautifully shot. And it's like, unfortunately, more poignant now than ever. And it's just, yeah, it's Spike Lee's best movie for sure. And I love Spike Lee a lot. Yeah, it was, and I knew when Scott asked that question, there was only one. I'm trying to think of what else I know there's other triple headers, but this is the one I immediately thought of. So it's like Portrait or Do the Right Thing. I just like edged to, Portrait.
So
here.
fuck over Patrick instead of fucking over Scott.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
because I was directly after him.
Check your Venmo. Check your Venmo.
Yeah, it was a closer stab, but yeah, great choice. I mean, I'm going to be saying that a lot. So, but yeah.
Here's something. Yeah, I love how the draft is working out so far. Anybody else have Do the Right Thing on their list?
Yeah, this was in my top 5
Yeah.
picks. This is what I consider to be the greatest film of the 1980s, bar none. Yeah, I mean, everything that's been said about it so far, I can only just say ditto. I actually have a signed copy of the film on my shelf over there from Spike Lee.
Nice.
The Criterion that just came out. And it holds a special place in my heart. I absolutely love that movie. So damn you for taking it, but it also clears up a lot of my options too. But it's phenomenal. I also would have picked Malcolm X in place of Do the Right Thing. Also, I think that's one of the best biopics ever, probably the best biopic ever, next to something like Lawrence of Arabia.
We can pick filmmakers more than once, right?
Yep.
Yeah, if you want.
Let's like spice things up, like if we're gonna make that.
No, I agree, but Malcolm X doesn't get enough love. But yeah, either way. I also got Anthony a Blu-ray Criterion copy of this. I don't even have the Criterion copy. So.
Because the reason to upgrade is that they color corrected it.
I know,
which is beautiful. It's like finally, like decades of it being a home video, or like Blu-ray at least, it finally gets color corrected to the colors it's supposed to be, which is such a big part of that movie.
I'll have to check out that version. But no, Do the Right Thing. Solid pick by Scott. Tony, close out round 1 for us. What are you thinking?
Okay, so. She had a very interesting comment, but it's just like, I'm the type of person who would start that speech and say, Jane Silent Bob Strike Back. I feel very much in your shoes, because I'm listening to these four just talking about these sort of fancy films, like really sophisticated. I'm just like, man, I'm here to lower the tone. But I am going to go for one of my favorite films of all time. It's one that the fact that there's not a biopic about the making of this film yet drives me insane. This should already exist. But it's the story of how it got made is great. The story of the movie itself is great. Of the unknown contender getting his shot and having a chance. I have to go with it. It's Rocky.
Yeah.
Always pick it.
Written by Sylvester Stallone. It's just like this writing of it is so fantastically well done. John G. Avildsen just does an incredible job shooting it, and it's like everything about that film just feels perfect.
Yeah. fantasy film fights, always pick Rocky. That is the motto.
It's 0 days since Rocky was last chosen on Fantasy Film Fights.
There's a reason why I always pick Rocky as a meme, and that's because everyone loves this movie. It's incredibly well done. There's a couple others in the franchise that I might give a slight nod to, but this is one of the best sports movies of all time for sure.
Jonathan, I will agree. This is a great round one. I'm assuming that this at least appeared. I know this appeared on Aaron's list. Anybody else? Wait,
Yeah.
no?
It wasn't.
It appeared on mine. Oh,
No.
It wasn't on my list. Actually.
No, it wasn't on my list either.
it was on my list.
200 movies on your list, and Rocky was not amongst them?
Yeah, Rocky was not amongst them. They're like I just I had to make room for Copland. No.
The Southland Tales on there too.
Always
or-
make
Well
room for
played, sir.
Copland.
Well played, sir. All right, that brings us to the end of round one. I think we've talked about Rocky enough. We can just press on.
I think
Tony!
Well, before we do, just because
Okay.
I do
Oh,
have this
jeez.
very lovely hoodie on with me right now, and also Redbubble is doing a thing for the next 24 hours. Well, it's been a 3-day thing, but you get 20% off if you go to Redbubble at the moment. So if you want to buy like a Fancy Film Fight sticker, or a Digestion Cinema sticker, or an Earthful Carriola, or an Always Fit Rocky shirt, or any of the other things we have available, it's now 20% off. Yes, I'm a shameless whore.
No.
Your first round.
Maybe drop that link in the chat so it's easy for our people
I'm gonna.
watching
There we
along
go.
to maybe follow. That's just my opinion, though.
All right, so Niko went first overall. He went with my first pick overall. So it's again Wilson Wells. Aaron went with Portrait of a Lady on Fire with Salim Siyama. Patrick went to New York for Charlie Kaufman. Scott did Do the Right Thing with Spike Lee, and I went Rocky with Sylvester Stallone.
And it's right back over
That
to
is
you,
a
Tony.
great first round.
Tony, round
Okay.
two. Kick it off.
All right, so I'm in between two. All right, I'm going to go for one that I don't think anyone else would have on their list. But I could save this one. I really want to talk about it now. This is because it's one of the best romantic comedies of the 2010s. And it's one of these ones where you just look at it and just go, okay, this story, it kind of feels like it's been done before, but it really hasn't. And just the way that it's done is so incredible, like, well crafted. And it's just like, and if you just watch it, you just go, okay, you two as a couple, you're going to be incredible for the next 20, 30 years if you stick together and work together. Zoe Kazan is a fantastic writer, and Ruby Sparks is an incredible film if you haven't seen it.
Tony, I'm going to disappoint you right now.
You haven't seen it yet.
I still haven't seen it.
Wow.
How about that? Before I watch Portrait of a Woman on Fire or whatever. Yeah. Portrait of a Lady on Fire. My bad.
Woman!
How about,
So offhandedly.
how about I watch Ruby Sparks tonight and I'll
Thank
write
you.
about it when I post the poll. I will give my review. How about that?
Thank you.
You're
But yeah,
welcome.
if you don't know the plot of it, so the story is Paul Dano plays an author who literally writes his dream girl into life. And then it's just the complication of that. And it's just really well done, well crafted. The script is just really well done. It's like, it's one of those ones where you just look at it and you just go, oh, okay, so there was a film in the 90s where there's rumors that the actor who wrote it didn't actually write it. But is this the same here? But it's like, but no, actually, no. She did it herself, and it's incredible.
Well, I might have to turn in my rom-com fan card, but has anybody else seen this one? Can elaborate a little bit on it? Nope.
I saw it a while ago. Don't remember that much about it, to be quite honest with you. I thought you were going to pick What If for a second when you started talking about Zoe Kazan, and then I was going to have to go on my spiel about how I think that movie is overrated, and I don't understand why people in this community hold it in such high regard. But I didn't. But you didn't, so I didn't have to go on that rant, even though I kind of just did. So.
Fair enough. So Tony takes Ruby Sparks. Scott, over to you, sir. What are you thinking?
Yeah, so Peggy mentioned earlier her list of movies that formed on the show of movies that she has not seen but needs to see. And for a while, I made a bit of trying to bring up this movie on every single Fantasy Film Fights until she watched it. But then Peggy had to ruin the bit by actually watching the movie. Imagine that. So I'm choosing, it's kind of a no-brainer pick, but it's my second favorite movie of all time, Inglourious Basterds by Quentin Tarantino.
A film which I enjoyed once I finally got around to watching it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't see, if you're a movie lover, I don't see how you don't get something from this movie, because obviously Quentin Tarantino is one of the biggest cinephiles out there, and this, more so than anything, even more than Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, is sort of his love letter to movies. Because, you know, there's so many different layers of movie making going on. There's the fact that they're all come together at this movie premiere for this propaganda film. Shoshana makes a movie herself to bring about the destruction of the Nazis. They're actually burning literal film canisters, literal movies, to burn down the theater and kill everyone. And then, you know, there's the meta layer of Quentin Tarantino is making a movie to, through the power of his movie, he was able to, you know, kill the Nazis for 2 hours and 40 minutes. I mean, this movie is incredible. It has that great Tarantino dialogue, the set pieces, the tavern, the opening scene, amazing characters and performances. It's all the things that makes Tarantino great, and none of the like little annoying tics which can sometimes turn people off from his movies.
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm mad at myself for waiting so long, but I am very thankful that you pressed me for as long as you did to finally get around to see it. So thank you,
That's
Scott.
what I'm here for.
Yep. Aaron, was this on your list of 200? Did this make it?
Not the Tarantino that made my list. I only picked one Tarantino. This one didn't make it for me. But I love this movie. I love most Tarantino though. So
yeah. This was definitely on my short list. It's one of, I think, what is it at now? I think 9 movies on Letterboxd that I have as a 5-star film. It is absolutely astounding what Tarantino is able to do with this. Christoph Waltz gives the performance of a lifetime. Like we have to say that. I mean, it's obvious. Every scene he's in, he's just so captivating to the eye. I do want to highlight Diane Kruger and Mélanie Laurent as the two feature women in this. They are spectacular as well. I have no bad words to say. I have nothing bad to say about this movie. I don't think I ever will.
Clearly, we have the two types of guys here, because he has 9 movies at 5 stars, and I have like over 100 movies at 5 stars.
Well,
so there you go. But at least we're agreed on this one. The Venn diagram overlaps here.
Yeah, I gave out a 5-star review today on a movie I saw.
Interesting. Niko, anything to add?
Yeah, no, I mean, I kind of like with Kaufman, I didn't put Tarantino on my list for just for kind of obvious sakes, I guess, so to speak. Just like, well, someone's going to pick it, so why do it? I would have probably gone with either Reservoir Dogs or Pulp Fiction for the acting triple header. I also think those are probably his best 2 movies, in my opinion. That's kind of a controversial opinion. I don't know if he's been able to top Pulp Fiction. I feel like the freshness and originality of that movie has yet to kind of be topped. It sort of laid waste. Even though he wasn't the first person to do nonlinear filmmaking, obviously you can go back to the French New Wave with Alain Resnais, and obviously Godard's a big influence on him. But it sort of stands on its own, and I quote that opening scene in the apartment, maybe with my dad, like once a week.
Say what again?
So that screenplay is ingrained in my memory, and as a screenwriter, him and his partner just did a phenomenal job with that script. And I love a good needle drop. Also, he's great at needle drops. And that film
Cat People, yes.
Plenty of them.
Yeah, the Cat People needle drop is so good.
I've gone on rants about Quentin Tarantino before. Inglourious Basterds is a great film. Pulp Fiction sucks. But as a quick recommendation, if you have 4 hours to spend, Empire Podcast did a thing with Edgar Wright speaking to Quentin Tarantino about cinema and everything like that. It's an incredible listen. I've been doing it as I've been dog walking. And it's just they had this hour discussion of just like, oh yeah, Martin Scorsese did me a list of British cinema to watch. Just listed those who talk about cinema. Just like, my dog's never got enough exercise in its life because of this podcast.
No, I love all those things where it's like directors talking to directors or actors to actors, and the round table stuff that like the Hollywood Reporter does. I love all that shit. But anyway.
I mean, Scorsese might be my guy to sit down with and talk about film. I could watch him talk about film for hours and hours and hours. I love his love for it. I love his films in general. And I would just love to sit down with the guy for just an hour and just talk about like Renoir and just why we love the river so much.
I like content more than films, so I don't think we'll get on.
Oh,
Too
Jesus.
soon.
All right, so Scott takes Inglorious Bastards to the shock of very few. Patrick, you're up.
It is Ferris. Hello. So this is the other category that I needed to take something from. We're moving away from the United States, possibly forever, with the rest of my picks. And we are going to the wonderful land of South Korea. Korean cinema has exploded in the 2000s. And there are two directors / writers that I have to fight between here. As much as I want to take a movie that Spike Lee remade, I'm not going to. I'm instead going to take another movie that came out that same year. It's Bong Joon-ho's first masterpiece, Memories of Murder.
No, this was
Excellent pick.
Dang it.
Better than Zodiac. Nice choice.
Yes.
No, that's
yes.
not true, but
It is. This movie is the quintessential crime thriller. It is so entrenched in its own motifs and tropes, but it's played in such a fantastic way that you don't notice it. We talked earlier about ending shots. Arguably the greatest ending shot ever. Again, featuring one of the greatest male actors on the face of the planet, Song Kang-ho, who just steals everything he ends up being in. It's a great relationship between him and Bong. Watch any of Bong's movies pretty much, and he's there and he's stealing the show. This movie, it hits so many notes, and it's so interesting because I fell in love with Korean cinema with Parasite, and I sort of dove into Bong's filmography first. I'm not going to say the name of the other major director of the 21st century because I have a feeling he will come up later. But those two have created such a canon for people to go into, and I feel like I've done a disservice by not going in to see the films that have inspired them and seeing like 60s and 70s Korean cinema, and instead spending my time watching a particular Japanese director who now has a Schmodown slice. But I can't say it's been too long since I've watched it. It's been over a year at this point since I watched Memories of Murder. But I mean, there's nothing about it that I can say negatively, like many films that are going to appear on our draft boards.
Nice. Aaron, was this one of the ones you were targeting? I have a feeling you guys are going to be.
Yeah, I mean, movies. We're going to be like, it's like I felt like I was getting tortured as Patrick was leading up to making his pick. Like, me and Scott were
I was watching you the whole time.
I was like, oh god, like, but
that
yeah,
was the exact movie I did want.
Yeah, this is a great pick. Bong Joon-ho is amazing. Obviously, Parasite, we all know, but when you go back, anytime you find a director, you know, whatever his work is, go back and watch the rest of his filmography. I mean, it really, or hers, his or hers, I should say, or theirs, whatever. You know, it's like, I just think that this is a really great choice. I jokingly say it's better than Zodiac. There are similarities. They're separate, but I feel like this whole community has seen Zodiac 700 times and talks about Zodiac. You know, just go ahead and, you know, check out Memories of a Murder if you like Zodiac. That could be like kind of a layman's way to recommend this, but yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I was looking at this for my 4th round pick. I thought I would be able to get it, but you know, I didn't know what to expect with this panel, I guess. But yeah, I saw this last year in theaters for the first time. They did a brief theatrical run. Because it was kind of just getting an American release sort of for the first. It was hard to come by in America for quite a while, but yeah, I mean, Zodiac is one of my all-time favorites. I don't know that I will ever say it's better than Zodiac, but I see the similarities, and I think they are both masterpieces in their own right. And I love the humor that is in this movie. It's a high stakes, like dramatic, you know, dark thriller, but there's also these moments of levity that feel like perfectly placed. And I think that's something that Bong Joon-ho is really good at. So love this movie.
Cool. Anybody else want to chime in? Tony, go ahead.
I've been meaning to see it. It's just, I don't know. when I saw Parasite, I loved it, and it's just like I got everything confused, and it's just like, but it's just I don't know why. Even he won the Oscar. It's still near enough impossible to get any copies of his earlier work over here. I don't know why. It drives me insane. It's like even like technically Snowpiercer didn't even get a release over here.
Well, this movie's coming out on Criterion, like next month or April, I think. So
Yeah.
that's a way to come by it.
Hell yeah.
I don't think he can get Criterion over there.
I can get the Blu-rays. This costs like 40 quid.
Yeah. I don't even know what that is, but that sounds like a lot.
That's like 70, 80 bucks.
100 Canadian.
Any more thoughts on Memories of a Murder?
God.
Going once, going twice. All right, Aaron, you are up, sir.
Oh my God, this is really hard. I'm gonna go with a movie I saw recently, actually. Not today, so not the movie I saw today, but I might pick that later. We'll see. But this is a movie that I had always, kind of heard a lot of people say was very, very good, and like typical asshole me, makes me want to not watch the movie, makes me want to assume I know what the movie is like, what it's about. It's a time traveling romance movie, so I feel like I don't need to say anything else. Mr. Richard Curtis's masterpiece. I could not believe how much I love this movie. About Time. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful film. Donald Gleason needs to do more roles like this. He was so great as that kind of bumbling weirdo, aside from the one creepy part in the museum, but whatever, every rom-com has their moment where you have to suspend disbelief. But Rachel McAdams, she's just amazing in this as well. Bill Nighy, or whatever. Is it Bill Nighy? Bruce Nighy? Whatever. Nighy guy.
Bill Nighy.
Bill Nighy. Yeah. He's absolutely great. About Time. Someone, this is like a movie that before I saw it and I'd hear it picked so often on this show or other shows, I would just be like, oh my God, here's About Time's being brought up again. Like, how good could it be? It's probably very wish fulfillment and just like people like it because it like it's like what they want to see. It's not probably like earned moments, probably really point. Yeah, none of the above. I was completely wrong. And yeah, Richard Curtis, I mean, just he kills it in a lot of his movies. They're not always my taste, but this one was just fantastic.
Well, I think this is an excellent pick. I'm actually shocked that Tony didn't pick it.
I was too. When he was describing Ruby Sparks, I heard the 2010s romantic. I was like, oh, well, there it goes. Yeah.
There's another Richard Curtis film that he directed that I like more than About Time.
Okay, that makes sense. I know it's coming. All right.
It's not coming. I'm not going to pick it, but
yeah.
I'm interested, as the rest of the panel, have you guys seen the movie About Time? If not, you should.
This is like the one movie that like everyone in this community somehow is united on as being great. This is the one. I don't know, but I am agreed in that. I think this movie is absolutely wonderful, and I love the like affection that it has for every single character, and the way like Uncle Desmond, for example, is such a great character. I think, and the way that they like never poke fun at him, even though he's like a little bit dim-witted, and said it's just like part of his charm and stuff like that. And his sister Kit Kat, like she's all over the place as well. But it just has like that warmth and affection for every single character, and I think that's something that we take for granted maybe sometimes when movies do that. So I think, Richard Curtis, sure, maybe he's a little sappy and sentimental, but like he's my type of sappy and sentimental. Yeah.
Hey, for one, Funeral rocks. I adore that.
I agree. Yeah, that's a great one too, for sure. Like, this sappy works all the way. It's such genuine sappiness. Like, I don't mean that as a negative at all, but it's beautiful movie.
It's one of those movies that finally just walks that. Like Richard Curtis just does that perfectly and just walks the line of just like sentimental, like lovely stuff, and it's just and also, but it doesn't cross into like, okay, you're a bit overdoing it now, mate. Just rail it back a bit. Stop handing out tissues.
Come on, Garth. We all know I only like good movies and dislike bad movies. So I don't know why you thought that I would dislike this one.
Niko, did you want to say something on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I caught it like 7 years ago at my sister's apartment, maybe about half of it. So I have nothing to say on this film. Besides that.
That's
Like,
fair.
4 Weddings, excellent.
Notting Hill.
Don't get me started. Do not get me started. Yeah, all right.
Not
So,
on my
Aaron-
list.
Aaron
Yeah, not-
takes
not on
about
my
time,
list.
much to my happiness. Niko, over to
Yeah.
you to close out round 2.
So I'm going to go with another directorial debut, a triple header, actor, director, writer. The only film this person got to make, and it's kind of an out of left field pick, but I'm going with Wanda by Barbara Loden. This is a relatively obscure film, I know from the expressions. Kind of recently, Criterion helped to restore it, brought it back to its former glory. And it is such a beautiful movie from a person who, she was married to Elia Kazan. She was an actor in her own right. And she decided to make this movie. And it's one of the great unsung classics of the new American movement of the late 60s and 70s. And again, a crew of 4 people, set in West Virginia, Pennsylvania. I mean, it's like the female John Cassavetes. It's just a great, now kind of dug up from the obscurities of time, and it's finally gotten its due. It's on Sight and Sound's like top 250. It's in the National Film Registry. It's just a gem of a movie. It's influenced me as a filmmaker beyond compare. I absolutely love it, and it's one that people should go out and watch because now it's accessible and it's devastating and beautiful and inspiring all at the same time. And she's phenomenal in all 3 roles as writer, director, and actor. And it's a shame she never got to make another movie before she passed away.
Wow, yeah, I'm not familiar with this one, but another one to add to my long and extensive list of movies I need to see based on recommendations on this show. Anyone familiar with this one?
I'm gonna watch it tonight. Can't wait.
We're ready for a great night in.
Yeah, I've never heard of it, so I don't really want to even hear more about it. Sold from that description alone. So thank you.
Aaron doesn't like spoilers of any sort. He just doesn't go in blank.
Yeah, exactly. But I appreciate I appreciate the obscurity, and it just, I think that's a really cool little find. I've never even heard of this, so that's awesome. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. I love it when the big picks like that.
Just quickly, you might have heard of her husband, someone called Elia Kazan. Don't know
I
if he's
did.
ever really done
Mention him,
anything.
yeah, Elia Kazan. She was in Thunder in the Grass.
Yeah, this looks really fascinating, actually. Like,
And also Michael Higgins is in it, who, if you've seen The Black Stallion, or he was also in Synecdoche. He's a theater and film actor. He's pretty much the second lead in that movie, and he's also great.
Interesting. I dig it. Excellent way to close out round 2. Scott is having a little bit of technical difficulties. Hopefully he will be back by the time Tony has recapped how round 2 went down.
absolutely. Okay, I went first round, and I went with Ruby Sparks, with Zoe Kazan writing and acting. Scott went next, who went Quentin Tarantino, writing and directing. Patrick went Memories of Murder, Bong Joon-ho. Aaron went About Time with Richard Curtis, and Niko went Wanda with Barbara Loden.
Very interesting how the teams are breaking out so far. I love it. This is great. Niko, round 3, you're up.
Okay, great. So I'm going to pick probably the 180 of Wanda, but still probably a great quote-unquote feminist masterpiece. And this is probably the greatest director acting on film in the history of cinema. It is, of course, Sidney Pollack in Tootsie, the director actor. He is so great as Dustin Hoffman's agent in Tootsie. It's one of those movies where everything is just a well-oiled machine, and the script is phenomenal, the directing is phenomenal, the acting's great. And like you're talking about with Richard Curtis, the film is interested in every character. Every side character gets their own little subplot that ties into the main story. And thematically, it's just so beautiful and resonant. And this interesting mix of populist art with highbrow concepts and themes. And to go back to Sidney Pollack in that acting role, Dustin Hoffman said he wouldn't make the movie unless Pollack played that role. And he's so great. The way that he just yells at Hoffman for not playing a tomato correctly cracks me up thinking about it. And he just plays off everyone so well. And you wouldn't think that this guy didn't do this for a living. He's so dynamic and just does everything that he's supposed to do in that role, plays it perfectly. while also directing the hell out of the movie, because he does this invisible acting. It's not this kind of auteurist, overpowering directing. He's just shepherding the film along as perfectly as possible, while also giving a wonderful performance that many people, including me, think is the greatest performance on film from a director.
That's high praise right there. I didn't even think of Tootsie when this topic came up, sad to say. Did either of you gentlemen have this one on your list? No. Interesting.
Again, mostly because my list is mostly films not in the English language.
Well, that makes sense. Tony, you got thoughts on Tootsie?
I've not seen it in many years, but I remember liking it when I did. It's one of those films where it's just like, it's one of those films where it feels like it should have been very dated by now. Just like if you look at the very basic premise, you go like, yeah, that shouldn't work, but somehow it just like it still holds up to the test of time.
Fair enough. All right. Niko takes Tootsie off of the board. Aaron, I am interested in what you have in mind for your third round pick.
Yeah, it doesn't get any easier. Apparently, I'm a fan of the romance today, so I'm going to keep it going. Actually, with one of my favorite actors. He did not direct or write this movie, but it's definitely one I know that Tony's a big fan of. I'm a huge fan of this actor, Adam Sandler. And Paul Thomas Anderson, I think this is one of his 3 best movies. He has 3 best movies, so yeah, I know that doesn't make sense, but he does. Punch Drunk Love. This movie, if you get the themes that it's discussing, I feel bad for you, and welcome to the party. I feel you. So, but if you don't, then enjoy the bliss. Ignorance is bliss, and if you don't get this movie, then congrats. Like, you have a much more peaceful state of mind and existence than I do. But yeah, it's really uniquely shot. I think that the pace that's kept throughout it is kind of unlike any other movie I've seen. And it just represents a state of mind that I don't think gets portrayed on movies accurately a lot of times. So, yeah, and I just think some people are like, yeah, Adam Sandler doesn't really act in this, but I think that's kind of the brilliance of Paul Thomas Anderson's acting. He really leans into a lot of the strengths and sensibilities of Adam and kind of redirects them in a way that a lot of other directors maybe wouldn't have. But I know he had this, written in with Adam in mind the entire time, and I just think like Paul Thomas Anderson is one of the directors then / writers that needed to be represented on this for sure. So I'm gonna go with Punch Drunk, but I could have picked like 2 other ones. So, but yeah.
Well, I think Adam Sandler does not get enough credit for his acting abilities. I'm glad Uncut Gems came out so that people could actually recognize that he is actually underneath it all a really, really good actor. At least I think so.
I agree.
All right, Patrick, since this one is in English, I'm assuming that he did not steal this one from you.
No, he didn't, because I had another Paul Thomas Anderson movie on my list
okay, cool.
that I will not be taking now, and Aaron's actually made my life much easier. So now I can take exclusively foreign films now. It's great.
There you go.
It's great.
Tony, you're going to say something? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. No. Tony, go ahead.
Punch Drunk Love is just incredible. You just go and just like Adam Sandler, like, you're the guy from Billy Madison. No, you can't be this good. It's just everything about it is so perfect, and it's the best 3-word title movie of all time.
Another Philip Seymour Hoffman performance, so trying to, get him represented on here too.
Well, he is very much missed nowadays, that's for sure. But back to the Adam Sandler thing, I think comedic acting is harder than dramatic acting in the long run, in the end of it all. But again, that's just me.
Who was it? There was like a very big director that used to say, I like getting comedians to do serious roles because doing it for a joke is the same as doing it for drama, rather than trying to get a serious actor to do comedy.
Makes sense.
I can't remember who it was, but someone. I'm terribly misquoting.
I'm sure someone in the chat will remember and fire it at you. Anybody else want to comment on Punch Drunk Love? Niko, Scott?
Yeah, one of the PTA films I've yet to see, actually. I've seen the rest of his filmography. Probably would have picked Magnolia for this one, to be honest, just for the sheer audacity of that movie. And, speaking of an actor who you wouldn't consider to be plucked into that kind of movie, but Tom Cruise is so great in Magnolia. He really stands out in that cast, which includes Julianne Moore and Philip Seymour Hoffman and Jason Robards. So not easy crop to stand out amongst, but he kills it in that movie. But Punch Drunk Love, I've yet to check out, and I will. I love PTA, and eventually going to complete all of his films. So, yeah.
How many times did Paul Thomas Anderson use Philip Seymour Hoffman? At least 3 that I can think of.
Boogie Nights, Punch Drunk Love, Magnolia. Is that it?
I believe the answer is 5. I believe I actually had this in a match one time.
The Master as well.
The Master,
and Hard 8 was.
He is in Hard 8. Yeah,
first
he is in
movie.
Hard 8. Yeah.
Yeah, the Master was close for me. It was between those two, but you know.
And the next PTA film is going to star Philip Seymour Hoffman's son, so keeping it in the family.
Oh, there you go.
Can't wait.
Interesting. Scotty, do you want to say something?
We're finding like the movies, like the one movie from Auteurs that I haven't seen, and this is the one from PTA because I've seen every single other one, I believe. And it is the Sandler thing though that you're talking about, Peggy, because like I avoided it for a long time because of that, because I don't like Adam Sandler's comedies at all. But then after Uncut Gems, I'm now opened up to the possibility of Adam Sandler doing great dramatic work. So it's on the list, as it were.
Yeah, unfortunately, Wedding Singer didn't qualify for double duty, so couldn't represent it.
Did Spanglish? I didn't check.
Oh God,
no,
one of the worst.
Tell me that's my next pick for it.
Terrible film.
All right, Aaron takes Punch Drunk Love. Patrick, over to you. What foreign language film are you going with?
I'm so tempted to take an English film now, just because I said that before, but I'm not going to.
I would love that move.
Yeah, it's a complete 180, right? But I'm actually going to take a film that won Best International Feature, as it's now known, foreign language film, when it did win it. From 2015, it is a Hungarian film. It is called Son of Saul, and the writer-director is Laszlo Nemes. This is a dark, depressing, and intense film that is so difficult to watch. It's set in a concentration camp during the Holocaust. It is from the perspective of a Jewish man who is sort of one of the like higher ups amongst the Jewish people within the concentration camp, and sort of follows his journey as a plot to escape is sort of made and everything. It is arguably the most intense film I've ever seen, because the entire film is shot from this weird first/third person over the shoulder type viewpoint. So you're always very in tight on his face, on the main character's face. And that just lends itself to conveying the emotion in such a different way than I've ever seen before. I mean, all of the awards that it won, it rightfully deserved, and this it's why it's on my list.
Nice. Can't say I've seen this one, but I love the fact that there's so many movies on this across everyone's team that I got to add to my list to watch. But I love recommendations that I'm not prepared for. Is anyone able to chime in on this one? No?
I've heard of it, haven't seen it. Yeah.
Basically, that's basically where I'm at.
Yeah, it's in my queue. It's been too long in there, so
The subject matter, I get like 2 or 3 of those a year that I can fit in. So you know, it's in the repertoire. There were so many on this subject. It is a really important subject, though. So I've heard good things about it, but no, I haven't seen it yet.
Fair enough. So it's
also his debut film. I always find it remarkable when film like Derek Stuva does take such a serious topic. It's like the very first, like, oh, I'm not gonna wade in and just try something simple for my first one. No, I'm going straight in for the deep end.
Yeah, you know, you get to the show, you want to knock it out of the park, you take a big swing.
True.
I mean, maybe the
know
road
the feeling.
like, why not? You just swing for the fences and see what happens, and you may win an Oscar.
Right? Yeah, seemed to work out for him. All right, Son of Saul goes to Patrick. Scott, you're up.
All right. I don't know if anyone has eyeballed the shirt yet, but you knew I had to go down this this route eventually. But I'm not going with one of the movies that she directed, as a matter of fact, which might be a surprise turn for me. I'm going to go a movie that she co-wrote and starred in with her now partner, Noah Baumbach. And that movie is Frances Ha. This is one of my favorite comedies of all time. I think this movie is absolutely hilarious, and people do not give it credit for being as funny as it is. But it's also like the thing that really just strikes a chord with me is, you know, I'm in my mid-20s. She's in her mid-20s. This is basically a coming-of-age movie about somebody coming of age in their mid-20s, right? They're like in that period between like getting out of school and figuring out exactly what they want to do with their life. And there's just all these moments of like, I have my name on StreamYard today as not a real person yet, because that's a quote from Frances Ha where she just says, "I'm so sorry, I'm not a real person yet." And it's like, it perfectly captures that feeling of like, oh, like I'm old enough, it's time for me to be out on my own, whatever. But also like, I feel like I haven't been prepared to be, a functioning adult yet in my life. And so, you know, there's all these scenes like she goes to this restaurant, she has to pay cash. And she doesn't have cash, so then she's like sprinting to the ATM. I feel like we've all been there before. And you know, then the ATM isn't working or it's closed down or whatever. She has to go find another one. And you know, but there's just so many other moments in this movie that I think are just really relatable, no matter your age. But I think specifically for where I am in my life right now, even though like, you know, I somewhat have my life figured out, I guess. I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, and Greta Gerwig, this is probably her best performance acting wise. And you know, she and Noah Baumbach, you know, there's a reason that they're partners together in real life, because they, you know, when they create together, it you know, it's pretty magical. So yeah, I had to pick Greta, and so this was the one I decided to go with for a little bit of a left turn.
No, I appreciate the left turn for sure.
I had that exact same matchup on my list as well. I went with the Frances Ha. I love that film. It's rare to capture the college milieu that accurately, but she and Baumbach managed to capture it perfectly. I love the sequence where she goes to Paris and she's so jet lagged she just can't even stay up, and it's so painfully.
What time does Puss in Boots start?
Exactly. It's just, yeah, those little details, and the cinematography is gorgeous, obviously, and shooting New York in black and white, you can't go wrong. And for anyone that thinks it's like this sort of weird hipstery kind of thing, it's such a tender movie. It's so like letting its guard down and just allowing you into its heart. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful movie. So great pick.
If I was going to take an English language movie that round, Frances Ha would have been it. So Scott, you can count yourself lucky, I suppose. The music in this movie is incredible as well. It's something that doesn't get mentioned enough when it comes to Frances Ha. I think there are just these moments where it feels just ripped out of like the less intense scenes of a lot of French New Wave stuff. Like it is a French New Wave movie made in 2012. But the music is, to me, what seals it and makes it a complete package. Like I've listened to the one like song that everyone kind of remembers on repeat for hours on end before, and I there's nothing more joyous to me than that sound.
Yeah, great job, Scott. Great pick. It's a really good sequel to Lady Bird as well. That came out before Lady Bird.
Yeah, kind of.
You know, but yeah, it's like you watch those together and you've got a great double feature.
Never thought about doing that. Maybe one day.
Watch in machete order though. Lady Bird first.
I think you said watch Machete. I'm like, what?
And watch Machete. I don't know if anybody's got to pick a Danny Trejo film on here.
I was about to say, you're spoiling my next pick.
Yeah, I was about to say, Machete Kills is my next pick. Thanks.
Written, starred, directed. I don't even know if he directed it.
I want to see Danny
Trejo. You broke up a little. It sounded like you said, watch those two and then Machete. I'm like,
watch those two, then Machete for your triple feature. Like, it makes a lot of sense.
I will give people my take on Frances Ha next week, since I literally bought that Blu-ray for the feature presentation challenge in black and white. So that is what I'm going to be watching next week, because I was looking at I need a movie from the 21st century to watch for this. Like, and it was either Cold War, rewatch Roma, or Frances Ha. I was just like, I'm going to pick Frances Ha just because Roma makes me want to just hurt people. I hate that Roma with a passion. Like that is very. the wankiest wank film to ever wank.
You're winding me up, Tony. Don't keep going.
All right. Anyways, we shall press on. Tony, your round 3 pick. What are you thinking about?
Okay, so I'm gonna go for a comedy, but I'm just got 2 in my head. I think I'm gonna go for the older one. So this was someone's directorial debut, and it's this film, and he also stars in it as well. And this film is very interesting for this guy to take on because he's from a lineage. His father is one of the most famous comedic directors of all time. Him going into a film and going, oh yeah, I'm gonna do a comedy as well. You're gonna have to do pretty well to keep up to the standard. Otherwise, you're gonna be known as like Max Landis. You're gonna be known as just like, oh yeah, the kid that got there because of his job. But Rob Reiner somehow probably is even better than his dad at this point. This is Spinal Tap.
Nice.
Just legitimately any rock band you ever listen to, they say it's not a mockumentary, it's real life.
If only this was the first pick of the 3rd round, it would have been number 11.
Ooh.
I didn't even think about this one. Anyone have this one on their list?
Yeah, this was on mine.
Yeah.
Fun fact, it's actually one of 2 films I wrote about to get into film school, with Spinal Tap and Cronenberg's The Fly. Because as a musician myself, yeah, Spinal Tap hits the nail on the head. It is outrageous. It walks a fine line between clever and stupid.
All the best do. All the best ones do.
And it's what can be said about this is Spinal Tap, but that it really set that and Albert Brooks's Real Life set the template for the mockumentary that we know it. There wouldn't be anything like The Office or Parks and Rec without those films, and this one just almost towers over every single film that came in its wake. Even the great Christopher Guest films like Best in Show and Waiting for Guffman sort of looms in the shadow of Spinal Tap because it does go to 11 and beyond.
I can see that. I like that. Anyone?
Yeah, it's a good pick. I don't know that I have much more to add. Rob Reiner directed my favorite movie of all time. I thought about, honestly, drafting it. However, it's a little bit of a cheat because the writer of the movie only has a cameo in it. So I just wanted to I wanted to pick movies where there are more substantive contributions in multiple fields.
That's fair. That's fair. All right.
Exactly. Mine is money.
All right. So Tony takes this as Spinal Tap to close out round 3. Tony, take it away with the recap.
Absolutely. Just quickly as it loads. If you're new around these parts and you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. We do a ton of good stuff around here. I didn't forget to put in my choice there. All right. Niko went first this round. He went in Tootsie. Sidney Pollack directed. Aaron went Punch Drunk Love, Paul Thomas Anderson. Patrick went Son of Salt with Laszlo Nemes. Scott went Francis How We Get a Gerwig. And I went This is Spinal Tap with Rob Reiner.
I love how diverse everyone's picks are so far. Dig it. All right, Tony, back to you. Round 4 pick. Officially on the clock. What you thinking? Where's you going?
Okay, so I'm going to go. All right, I'm going to go with this one. I think my last pick should be safe. So this film feels like it shouldn't be. This film feels like it should have been done by this director. He's too busy, especially this decade. He made the MCU. He started that. He did quite a lot of it. He made Star Wars good again with The Mandalorian. He did all this, and then just in the middle, he just slipped in, just like, oh yeah, I'm going to do a movie about a food truck, and it's one of the best films of the 2010s. Chef.
Now you're going JJ for a second. I'm like, what? Oh,
so it's probably got some of the best cooking scenes in the history of cinema. Like just this John Favreau just a fantastic job in it as well, and just it pulls like there's not a bad performance in the entire movie.
I didn't quite dig Sofia Vergara in that one, but that's just me. I might be alone.
She has a minimal role, thankfully.
That's true.
Yeah. It's a great casting job on Favreau's part to get Sofia Vergara and Scarlett Johansson as the two women that are madly in love with him, by the way.
It's a classic Seth Rogen tactic right there.
Yeah, very much so. But this is just a feel good movie. Like every element of it, it just makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside. And if you're having a bad day, this is the perfect type of movie to just throw on and kind of watch. As sort of the father son dynamic in this movie is brilliant.
Yeah, I enjoyed the movie. It's good. I don't know if it would have made top 5 on my list all time type of thing, but hey, to each their own, different strokes and all that.
I had a cheese sandwich. I had a cheese sandwich for tea because of this movie.
The grilled cheese, it just looks so good. But yeah, no, I'm a fan of this movie. A lot of my favorite movies are of the no plot, just vibes variety, and this falls in that category. And yeah, the Chef Show, which he did on Netflix, is also a very entertaining show where he just goes around and cooks stuff with a bunch of chefs, and it's just like a fun hangout show.
Yeah, Garth mentioned it earlier in the chat. I do miss his Dinner for Five show that used to be on. That was a good one.
Yeah. Wouldn't have made my list. I don't know. I'm waiting for that chef movie with a little more teeth to it, because I'd like to see. This is like a really good feel good movie for sure, and that's part of what I kind of didn't like at the end about it. I feel like towards the end, third act, like there's some, like, it kind of goes back on some of its themes earlier in the movie. It's trying to like say it's bucking against. So like that kind of disappointed me how it ends too. So I don't know. It's just like personal gripes with it for me, held it back from a lot. A lot of people really like it, but yeah, wouldn't be on mine.
And I just realized I wrote Chef down under Niko's name instead of Tony's. Not that I needed to verbalize that to any of you, but anyways.
They do look like they could be related. I'll say that much. Like, you guys look like you could definitely be related. So, you know.
Just have one of those faces. I can relate to anyone, really.
Yeah, just white people faces, yeah.
Well, I'm Hispanic.
I was about to say, his name's Niko Gonzalez.
I am though half white, so okay, fine.
Yeah, I was identifying with your other half. Jeez, Niko.
Okay, you're racial.
This is awkward for you, not me.
So I pick next?
Yes,
I need my lawyer. Scott, help me.
Scott, your 4th round pick. What you got?
You're on your own on that one, Aaron. Okay, my 4th pick, I'm going to choose a movie that I consider to be one of the most underrated of the 2010s. And it is a genre movie that I think is incredibly innovative and emotionally satisfying from a first-time writer-director. And this is 2018's Searching. Written and directed by a guy named Anish Shiganti. Yeah, this movie absolutely blew me away when I saw it in theaters because, you know, I'd seen the trailers. I saw, they're going to do like a screens. It's all on screens thing. Like, you know, they did in Unfriended, the horror movie. It's like, whatever, cool. And then I sat down in the theater and the first 7 minutes of this movie plays out. And it's like this basically digital version of like that montage in Up with Carl and his wife, you know, the famous sort of montage from Up. And it's basically like the internet era version of that. And we get to the end and you're just like choking back the tears. And this is, again, the first 7 minutes of the movie. And I'm like, oh, okay, wow. So this is the type of movie we're in for. Like, not what I was expecting at all. And I think the goal, you know, the key is that they keep that they keep you anchored to that emotional heart throughout the entire movie. This relationship between John Cho, who plays David Kim, the main character, and his daughter Margot. And even when we're getting into some of the more like genre stuff, and the genre stuff is really well done. It's a really twisty, exciting thriller. They still keep you anchored to that emotional, you know, core. And the way that they do that, I think, is so clever in the context of the screens. Like, you know, the mom has passed away, right? That's what you learn in the first 7 minutes of the movie. And like at one point he has to go into her account on the computer and he logs in and the little thing comes up, little update that comes up that says, oh, you haven't updated your antivirus or whatever in however many days it's been since she died. And that's just like a brilliant sort of show, not tell way, I think, to like, again, just, you know, tug on your heartstrings. still in the context of like what the movie is, which is like, again, told all in screens. And I love John Cho. I think he should be a leading man. We all know why he's not more of a leading man, unfortunately. But I think he's really talented, and I'm glad that a diverse director came in and allowed a diverse actor to get the starring role he deserves. So everyone should check this movie out. It's incredibly underrated.
Yeah, I can't say I've seen this one. Anyone on the panel able to help me out? Because I got nothing.
Aaron, which one of us wants to go first?
Go ahead, Patrick, please.
Fair
You're my
enough.
guest.
Yeah.
Getting my foot on my mouth.
Yeah, I'll let you take your time with that. No, I echo pretty much everything Scott said. I think it's a brilliant way of using that concept. I think the story itself, as it plays out, it hits its beats at the perfect time. The pacing in it is incredible, and you don't necessarily always get that with these films that have like very specific gimmicks to it. I think it would work just as well as a movie that just follows the same basic plot line, but it certainly wouldn't be as interesting if it didn't sort of meld the screen concept with a pretty fantastic story.
Cool.
Yeah, I agree. The first 10 minutes are just absolutely incredible too. Like that really shows how I think the potential of a niche moving forward. Didn't quite get to see it completely in Run, but Run was fine. But I mean, hopefully third time's the charm for a niche, because I think Run wasn't quite what they anticipated, but this is a really good experience. It's really a fun movie you can watch this at home. I think you get the same experience too, since it is that screen concept. If not, it might be even a little better. I saw it in theaters and it wasn't distracting though. But yeah, like good movie.
Yeah, Searching has that thing of just like you see it and just go. For me, it's like, oh, after like 10, 15 minutes of this, it's going to get irritating just seeing someone mess around the screen. It really doesn't. It's just the way everything is just fantastically done just to keep your interest, and just like it uses it perfectly. It's like that and Host are the two films I'm just at the moment just like, oh yeah, this is actually a very good way for the future of telling stories.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Niko, anything?
I have not seen this film, so I have no comment.
Oh,
but I'm curious to see where internet-based films, how commonplace they'll be, especially in the age that we're currently living in the next 5 years.
Yeah. Very true. Very true. All right, Scott takes Searching. Patrick.
I'm looking at my list. It is very dark, very depressing, and it fills me with all of the wrong emotions. The problem is that I think I'm gonna keep it going.
Steer into the skid, Patrick.
Yeah, exactly. There's a theme. We got to stick to it. I'm taking a movie by an Austrian director who is regarded as one of the greatest of all time. But I'm not taking one of his two more well-known films. I am instead taking 2000's Code Unknown. This is Michael Haneke.
Michael Haneke, another one I am
I knew that would be
unfamiliar
the
with.
director.
Do regale me with a little bit of a synopsis.
Okay, so Haneke is mostly known for the 2012 film Amour, which received the Best Picture nomination, as well as his most critically acclaimed film, the 2005 Cachet. Code Unknown comes just before this. Both Code Unknown and Cachet star the impeccable Juliette Binoche. And Code Unknown is sort of this really interesting sort of societal critique, particularly dealing specifically with racism. It starts off with this sort of altercation between a black man and a white man in the street in France after the white man sort of dismisses a homeless person on the street. The black man comes in, tries to get the person to apologize, and causes a whole scene and brings the police involved. And then from there, it sort of splits off into 4 different stories, following each of sort of the quote unquote, each of the parties involved in this initial altercation. We see Juliette Binoche, who is the mother of the sister-in-law of the person who was sort of being the start of all this. She's an actress, and we kind of follow her for a bit. We follow the woman who is actually Romanian and in France illegally. She's deported back to Romania, and we follow her journey back there and what her life was like in Romania. We have the black man who has to deal with the fact that he lives in an immigrant family. His father works as a taxi driver in Paris, and then we have the brother who was sent back to the farm in rural France and working there. It's this really interesting societal critique of racism. It's certainly unique to the situation in Europe. I think there is distinct values that appear in terms of with sort of African immigration, especially in French West Africa to France, that are played out here. And I think it's an interesting way of seeing the problem from a different perspective than is traditionally seen in North America.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't know a thing about this movie, unfortunately, sad to say. Aaron, is this one of the ones that were on your list?
No, sadly, I haven't seen any of this director's work, so need to add him to the list. But hearing Patrick talk and use words like impeccable and like an asshole, it's like one of my favorite qualities of Patrick.
You sell every pick.
I love these movies. What can I say?
No, I love it. No, it's fantastic.
It's like I can't say the word impeccable without people like throwing tomatoes at me and be like, "Shut the fuck up!" But like Patrick just rocks it. I love it. But I haven't seen this movie. He sold me on it though. Like any movie he's talked about today.
It's on Criterion if you have the ability to watch it. So
yeah, like when the second you mentioned Haneke, my head went back to I watched both Funny Games, but for reasons, and I hated life. I hate those 4 hours of my life. It's just everything about it, just like those films. Just I don't do horror at the best times. Those films just destroyed me. So it's just like the second you said it, I was expecting to go, oh, it's gonna be very like scary and horrifying, just like, and then I feel like, oh no, Haneke actually does a lot more than just that.
He does. He's a fantastic director. I recommend everyone seek out not just his major films, but all of his stuff.
There's Carol Heineke, who wrote Empire Records, but that's completely different. Anyway.
I'm that way. Yeah.
All right. But yeah, I'm going to definitely have to see Code Unknown after that description you gave, because it sounds damn interesting. But so
it is.
Applaud the pick. Over to Aaron.
Yep. All right. Finally, I can get an A24 movie, and it's just the decision of which A24. I could have made my whole list A24, frankly, like very easily.
Is it a question of if, Aaron, or which one?
Yeah, it's which one, and I'm only going to make it one. And I'm not gonna actually. I'm gonna go with Ari Aster here. It was between him and two others.
I was going to say, is it which one or which one?
Oh, not which one. That wasn't a running, but it got lost in the woods for now. And I'm gonna go with. It's hard to choose between which Ari Aster. I like them both. Today I'm feeling Midsommar, though. In most days I feel Midsommar over Hereditary. This movie is just, I think, directed masterfully by Ari Aster. He goes from like a very close, intimate movie with Hereditary taking place mostly in a house to like open fields and psychedelic imagery. And I have a lot of experience with psychedelics, allegedly. And sometimes when they are portrayed in movies, it's a little bit honky and a little bit annoying. This movie, it's done so subtly at times. And when it's not done subtly, it's done on purpose. But when you rewatch this movie, I saw it 5 times in theaters, more than any movie I've seen in theaters, I think, in a long time, if not ever. And it's just like you pick up so much on this on a big screen, for one. So I do kind of feel people who don't get to experience it on the big screen the first time. But yeah, it represents toxic relationships, really very over the top, but I think it's on.
Hi, Melissa.
Yeah,
it's like saying Beetlejuice.
Yeah. And just, there's tons to pick up on rewatches. There deals with themes of mortality, how society deals with death, how society deals with families, how society deals with tragedy. A lot of different themes It's got moments you can laugh at because you just don't know how else to react to what you're seeing on screen. But I just think that's a kind of a brilliance of Ari Aster and where he's putting you in this movie. Then Florence Pugh, our queen, Florence Pugh. She's a star. She's going to continue to do big things, and she's great in this as Danny. Another movie. Almost all these movies have like a great final shot. This movie is no exception. The final shot is just so satisfying if you're on whose side I'm on in this movie.
Yeah, it's complicated.
Yeah, it is very complicated, and it depends on my mood. Some days I really understand one side more than the other, and it's just you can tell Ari Aster was in a very bad spot when he was writing this movie, and that makes for some incredible art.
Well, it's funny you should mention that because I've only seen the first 10 minutes of this movie because I put it on and I told everyone in the group chat that I was watching it. I was like in a blue mood or a dark mood that day or something, and I was like, "Stop watching it right now!"
Yeah.
I haven't seen the rest of it yet.
That first 10 minutes is not the theme and the tone of the rest of the film. I'll just say that much. That first 10 minutes.
Well, I got to the reveal of what happened to the fam. I got to that part, and then I think that's when I texted you guys. I'm like, "What are you making me watch right now?" And you're like, "No."
Yeah. One of my more favorite fantasy film fights recently was on the 2019 episode when myself and Aaron and I think Melissa might have been there as well. We were all just losing it in the chat. Every single pick when Midsommar didn't get picked, and it didn't go until like the 4th or 5th round, which is a travesty. Because
we're yelling like the Midsommar call. We're like all yelling like with they were like, and,
exactly.
Yeah, I mean.
I've seen this movie 5 times. I think it's incredible. So I don't fault Aaron on that pick at all.
I'll finish it one of these days. It's just, was advised not to that day.
I'll grow a set and watch it one day.
Anybody else want to put in their 2 cents on Midsommar?
Will Poulter has the most punchable face in Hollywood, and every role that he is put into that is used to the best effect possible.
It's fair.
He's pretty perfect in this with his vape and his public urination. It's pretty solid.
Yep.
Fair. All right. So Midsommar goes to Aaron. Niko, you are up for your 4th round pick.
Yeah, so I'm going to go finally with one that is just a directed and written by. This is one of the unquestionable greats of cinema in general, and the launching point worldwide for one of the great filmmakers to ever pick up a camera. It would be Rashomon by Akira Kurosawa. This movie, really, there's not much you can say that's already been said about Rashomon. I think it's probably the greatest film about storytelling ever, next to The Princess Bride. The way that he constructs his set pieces, the way that he tells this story 3 to 4 different ways and never gives you the right outcome. Spoilers for Rashomon, but I mean, this film came out in 1950. So, and really it's up to the audience. We are there to take in this film and for 90 minutes just let it wash over us and to allow us to come to our own conclusions, because the characters they're in cannot come to their own conclusions about what really happened. And it's like, is that really the point of Rashomon? I mean, this movie is sort of in that Groundhog Day category of it's a genre unto itself. Like, oh, this is Rashomon plus this. It was up to The Last Jedi referenced Rashomon. It's one of those, of course, beautifully shot, wonderfully written. Toshiro Mifune is obviously phenomenal in it. He's great. I did almost pick Akiru to Live, which I love and I wanted to pick because I think it also has a very interesting structure, and it's one of Kurosawa's most well-known non-samurai films. But I think Rashomon is such a template for cinema that came after, much in the way Citizen Kane was in the way it told stories, that it was sort of like, well, I kind of have to go with this one. And it's not, that bad of a film either. It's again, one of the greats of cinema in general.
Okay.
Perfect.
Even though,
yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah. I didn't mean to cut you off, Peggy.
No, absolutely. You go right on ahead. I was going to say this is now a slice on the wheel. So the less I talk about the director, the better. So let's go.
It's definitely was going to be my Kurosawa pick. I love a lot of Kurosawa as well, but Rashomon is my favorite. So I was glad I knew this director. There's no chance Kurosawa wasn't being picked with this panel, like at all. So it's just like, it was just who of us, and I'm glad this was the representative. So great choice.
Can't say much more than that. I mean, it very clearly inspired Tarantino in the making of my favorite Tarantino film, Reservoir Dogs. I mean, there's nothing bad to say about this movie. I'm glad you brought up Mifune, arguably the greatest actor to have ever been put on screen. He and Kurosawa are, in my mind, the best actor-director pair ever, and it's not even close. This movie is storytelling 101. People have followed it, like you said, for the last 70 years, and there's a damn good reason why.
Yeah.
Tony, we got to add actor-director pairs to the topic list.
We do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good one.
Do I admit how much of a Philistine I am? But the fact that I've seen one Kurosawa film, and it stars John Voight.
Ow.
1985's Runaway Train.
Interesting.
That and Scott Lee is because you said that.
Yeah, that's good timing. I hope that was on purpose.
It was fun. We'll leave you with one round left.
Shitty internet.
I'll get round to him. I don't know. I just always got nervous with him because it's just like, he always gets spoken on in that sense.
What happened?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna get on with him in the next couple of weeks. Like watch a few of his. Yeah.
I mean, I noticed someone in the chat mentioned Seven Samurai, which is also great. That movie does not feel its length. It is one of the great epics. And I mean, come on, A Bug's Life remake of Seven Samurai. What bigger recommendation can I give than those guys were influenced by Seven Samurai? And of course, Mifune as Kikuchiyo, again, so phenomenal in that film. I mean, Kurosawa, another great one. The first one I saw by him is Yojimbo. Yojimbo, great Western samurai film mix-up. I mean, Kurosawa is just one of the great filmmakers. You see him in Star Wars. I mean, I love watching. I love watching his work and going, "Oh, that's where Lucas got this. That's where Spielberg got this." Like all those movie brats in the '70s. Mm-hmm. It was like Ford and Kurosawa and Hitchcock.
Yeah.
All right.
Aw.
End of round 4. Tony, hopefully, Scott will be returning soon.
Yeah, we got like 4 more picks for him.
Yeah, we got time to get before we get back to him.
I blame Runaway Train.
I can vamp if needed. I can just talk about Portrait of a Lady on Fire again. Like,
there you go.
That's all I need to do.
Yeah, I mean,
all right, so for the 4th round, I went first. For this round, I went John Favreau's Chef. Scott went Anish Chaganty's Searching. Patrick went Code Unknown by Michael Haneke.
Sorry.
Aaron went Midsommar with Ari Aster, and Niko went Rashomon with Akira Kurosawa. I feel like my pick may be a little bit lesser for some strange reason. I feel my
cultured.
Yeah, it's just like I'm gonna pick the one with.
Had I been playing along, let me tell you, my list would have been very different.
I would have changed a few picks if Peggy was playing. I think I would have maybe.
I definitely would not have.
I would have.
Coming to America, Eddie Murphy plays multiple roles.
There we go. Thank you. Definitely would have been picked like 3rd round for real if you were playing, or 2nd round. I would have picked Coming to America.
Okay, we have reached the 5th and final round, gentlemen. This is where you take the one that's like gut pick. I need to have this one on my squad to round it out. Whatever it is in your head that makes your team whole, pick that one. So, Niko, over to you. 5th and final pick. What are you thinking?
So I'm going to go back to the writer, director, actor but this person does not star in this movie. To me, this is such a seminal film for me personally. I adore it to bits. It was between this and another one of their films, but because they had a more substantive acting role in this, I went with Finding Nemo by Andrew Stanton. I think that I also want to get animation represented. I'm a big animation buff, and I think that Finding Nemo, kind of like what I was talking about with Tootsie, is just this great It's palatable. Anyone can watch it. Obviously, kids can watch it, but adults can watch it and weep and have this existential crisis, but feel happy about it. That it's okay to get older and let things go. And of course, the animation is gorgeous. It still holds up by today's standards, even though it was made in 2003. Computer-generated effects have gone so far in. I mean, you just look at Finding Dory, and there's such a big change in quality. But the storytelling in Finding Nemo is just so strong. And of course, Stanton has a great role as Crush, the turtle. But he never overtakes it. Again, it's almost like the kind of Pollock-esque kind of. He's great, he's supporting, but he never overtakes the main story. And the ensemble is great. Of course, Albert Brooks, Ellen DeGeneres, Willem Dafoe, Brad Garrett, if I'm not mistaken, Allison Janney. It's just Stephen Wright, Stephen Root are just all great. I can't praise this movie enough. I was going to go with my favorite Stanton, which is Wally, but he has a small role in that. But I think Wally is his definitive masterpiece. But if I was going to go with the more well-rounded pick of those three categories, it would be Finding Nemo. It's right behind Wally for me. It's like Toy Story 1, Wally, Finding Nemo. I absolutely adore this film. Can't wait to when I'm a parent to show it to my kids, because it's just absolutely gorgeous. I can't say enough about it.
Yeah, I cried multiple times the first time I watched Finding Nemo. That's for sure. I hate when they make you cry within the first 10 minutes. Anytime a movie does that to me, I'm
that's the thing is you talk about great storytelling. They set it up in the first 5-10 minutes organically, and you understand the stakes. You completely understand where he's coming from, and they don't. It's also one of the great Albert Brooks characters of he's a dick. Let the kid go, but you totally understand. You totally get it. You totally get where his neurosis is coming from. It's not unfounded, but there is a point where you just have to let go of things and things just have to be free. If you love something, set it free. And I think that movie tells that message in such a beautiful way.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. Anybody else want to chime in on Finding Nemo?
Wasn't on my radar.
Don't all jump at once. Yeah, This is not one I would have thought of for this category, but I dig the fact that you did.
Is my mic still really bad on my phone?
It's a little low, but I can hear you.
It's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Me.
No, I haven't seen this movie since I was a kid, actually, so didn't have it on my list, but I liked it as a kid.
You'll love it as
a kid when it came out. It makes me sad for myself.
Yeah, I wasn't going to mention how old I was when I saw this movie in theaters, just to spare feelings.
Right?
Not born in your mother's stomach, Patrick? I don't even want to know.
Not that bad, but still.
But no, I think. Good.
I was going to say, personally, I'm a fan of Andrew Stanton's live-action work. I'm his only fan of his live-action work. I fucking love John Carter.
I love the episodes he directed for Stranger Things.
As well.
I really, really want to see more of his work, either animated or live action. He's probably my favorite guy working at Pixar at the moment.
Yeah, he's one of some writers that it feels that all the terrible stuff that John Lasseter happened, it kind of affected him the worst because he got pushed into his position. It's like instead of being able to go off and do other things, he kind of got stuck with being, I now have to be Pixar.
Mm-hmm.
So it would have been interesting in a world where it's like if Disney took more of a control, what he could have done, especially in live action. Because John Carter, I said that jokingly, but it's actually a fantastic film. It just got completely fucked over because it's the most boring title in the history of the universe.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one. I mean, Stanton, I've only seen the Pixar films he's directed. But between Wall-E and Finding Nemo, I mean, those two are so ambitious and so forward-thinking and gorgeous that it's. I don't know. It's like those two should have been nominated for Best Picture, hands down. I think they're probably my favorite film of their respective years. And Stanton, if you haven't seen his TED Talk on storytelling, if you want to be a storyteller, I highly recommend it. I mean, it's one of my favorite pieces on storytelling advice I've ever seen. He just completely knows the craft, but does it in a way that doesn't feel obtrusive, doesn't feel like pandering. It's totally organic, and you're totally on board.
Interesting way to run. I love the fact that you've got a very eclectic team. You did a good job at making it a very well-rounded team. Well done, Niko.
Thank you very
Aaron,
much.
over to you for your fifth and final pick.
Man, Niko really inspired me to go and look for an animated to add to this, and I did find one that I'll mention in honorable mentions that I'm not going to go with, though. I can't quite steal his idea of going in animated anyway, but it's really tough. What's that?
Please be my guest.
Yeah, no. I gotta be original, and so I'm gonna go with an original, definitely an original filmmaker. I don't think this guy is for everybody. I don't know who he's for, but I love him. David Lynch, Mulholland Drive, simply lives up to all of its accolades, all of the hype. It's one of the best movies of this millennium. It took me maybe 4 watches to even half understand half of it, maybe. And I'm not ashamed of that. There's a lot to take in from this movie, not just plot wise. I think with just statements it's making on filmmaking, on Hollywood, on just our society overall, just on a lot of different issues. And Naomi Watts is really, really perfectly casted in her role. I don't know why she doesn't quite get enough love as a really great actress, but I just feel like Naomi Watts is not mentioned and taken as serious as she should be. Justin Theroux is amazing as the director in this movie also.
He directed that?
Yeah. No, he plays a director in the movie. Yeah. He plays a director in the movie. Directed by David Lynch.
That was it. Yeah, I'm like, fucking Mulholland Drive. Never mind.
No. He plays
I did not have to study this one. I had to study the one with the dude on the tractor.
One.
There you go. So sorry, continue.
Yeah, no, but yeah, it's I mean, and again, no pun intended, but the final shot of this movie, it will stick with you. So all right, I'm out.
Excuse me. I remember going to see this with an ex and being completely lost in the theater at the time, but I was also very dumb in my youth. So I don't think I was paying attention at all. So that's my 2 cents. You guys go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, Mulholland Drive, what more can be said about Mulholland Drive? I actually did pick Lynch for my short list, but I actually wanted to go with triples as much as I could, and so I went with Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. But Mulholland Drive sort of alternates, between that and Blue Velvet as my favorite Lynch. It's actually funny how funny Mulholland Drive is. People forget how funny that is. That film, especially the whole Billy Ray Cyrus scene.
The Billy Ray Cyrus part, yeah.
It shows up out of nowhere because that movie could go in so many directions. And I mean, it's one of those movies, that and Tarkovsky's The Mirror, and then recently with Alain Resnais when I saw Hiroshima Mon Amour. Those 3 films gave me very vivid dreams after I saw them, which is, out of thousands of films I've seen, is quite a camp. And so Mulholland Drive, yeah, I love it. It's a love letter to Los Angeles, which is where I grew up. Essentially, I grew up about an hour from LA, and to see it in that early 2000s Lynchian mode is such I absolutely adore it. Yeah, that's a phenomenal pick.
Thanks.
Cool. Aaron's team is full up. Patrick, over to you to complete your squad.
Now, if I really wanted to tank this, because the can cut is about to be released, I would take the Southland Tales, but I'm not that insane. I'm instead going to, and I have to decide between 2. It's either a movie I watched for the first time last week, 10 days ago, something like that, that I probably should take because it is a Canadian film, and Canadian film isn't oftentimes brought to the spotlight as much as it should be. Or a movie that I've kind of been bugging Aaron to watch for a bit now, and I'm hoping I will be able to talk about a lot more very soon. But I think I'm going to go with the Canadian film and save the other one for my honorable mentions. It is a 2019 film. It won Best Canadian Film at TIFF. It is Antigone, Antigone. Sophie Deraspe, a Quebecois director and writer of this film.
Another one I'm unfamiliar with.
Yeah, I mean, I figured most people would be because it's a French-Canadian film that I looked. You cannot get it legally in the United States from what I've seen.
Right. Pandering for both.
Yes, that's definitely what I'm doing with this. The story is the Sophocles' fable of Antigone. It's just transposed into modern-day Montreal with a refugee family from an unnamed Middle Eastern country. And it sort of follows the same trajectory. It hits all the same beats. One of the things I love is when people bring in ancient Greek storytelling into movies. It's part of the reason why I love Portrait of a Lady on Fire so much. The whole thing with Eurydice and all that little subplot towards the end, and the scene where they look at each other. So the fact that this is essentially just a Greek story ripped and put into modern context and looked at through the lens of police violence against minorities and sort of notions of family. Oh,
Whoa,
where'd my camera go? I know exactly what happened. I will be back in 1 moment.
Oh, that's fine.
I think I kicked a wire out.
I'm so glad that you said the name of it before anyone else did, because I would have just called it Antigone.
Antigone. I can't chime in on this. Worth a damn. I'm doubting anybody else in the.
I gotta give him credit for how composed he is. Even when he screws up, he's like, "Oh, I screwed up and unplugged my wire. I know that was the mistake I just made. Error on my end." Like even that. Like when does this kid disheveled? I've never heard him like. This is the most about. But yeah,
steady hand.
I thought it was Antigone. I thought it was Antigone too until he just said it. So don't feel like I was like, I'll see that Antigone at some point.
Just quickly double checking. It is not available in the United Kingdom. Let's have a look in the US. If it's available anywhere, couldn't Just Watch. Nope, it's not even on Just Watch for America. So yeah,
I was looking for a movie from '92.
Considering
I can't find it anywhere.
Considering
Sorry,
I'm a
go ahead.
lawyer, it would be wrong for me to break the law. So I have never seen this.
I figured by picking this movie, that would be the unanimous vocalization across the panel.
That's what fifth round picks are for.
Yep.
But I have a feeling there are a few people who are going to go ape shit over your list when the vote goes up.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to name names. Oh yeah, what? I keep doing that joke. I got to come up with some new material.
Gotta keep you keep hitting them with the classics. That's how you keep your career in comedy.
This is a great date night, like Charlie Kaufman and Michael Haneke.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, babe, you want to watch funny games and get really mad at one another for watching a movie?
It's almost as if I've never been in a relationship.
Wow.
Tell you, Patrick, you're a goddamn catch.
You are. I was just going to quickly say, I've ended up on this weird binge of Canadian films, especially Quebec films. Good, Bon Cop, Bad Cop.
Yes.
Jimmy Derry recommended me that like the other week, and I put it on. It's just like, look, I need more. I need more of this.
Yeah, that is a seminal film in French Canadian households. If you go to Quebec, you ask someone what Bon Cop, Bad Cop is, they will erupt in cheers. That is like. I'm trying to think of a good parallel to American cinema, but I can't right now.
Yeah, there's not really like the easiest one would be like a much darker version of the other guys.
Yeah, that was the first thing that popped into my head too.
Yeah,
but it's very distinctly Quebecois as well. So there's going to be some like weird points where people don't get some things about it.
That's all right. You keep your little inside jokes up there. That's fine. But no, I think Patrick, that was a good way. Like people are going to go nuts over your list. I am excited to see the reaction when the vote goes up. But your squad is all set. Scott, your turn. If you're with we just lost him.
That was even funnier than the last time. Scott is killing us with each time it's better. He's like, wait for it. Wait, Scott, you're just gone.
Scott, you're up. Gone.
I think what we'll do is I'll take my turn, and then he can have his final one.
You never pick anybody's pick.
Yeah, I doubt you're gonna sniper one of his picks.
I don't think so, but I'm gonna go for this one. So this is from this movie is, I don't know why I keep doing directorial debuts, and this one is one that works really well. It's from 2018, and it's weird because it's just got, oh wait, you're the guy from The Office. You're doing a horror film with your wife starring in it.
Okay.
And it's really good. By John Krasinski in The Quiet Place, like it's just it has no reason to be as good as it is.
I have no ability to write these titles in the right sections. I just added your title to Scott's team. But But yeah, not a
This
pick
movie
I was
didn't-
expecting for you. Good.
Yeah, it didn't scare you, Tony?
It didn't scare me in a sense, but it was like I was man enough to be able to watch it. But it's like there is just this tenseness the entire way through, and it's just like I saw it twice. I saw it once in cinema where I nearly got in a fight, and then I watched it at home where because it's just like because you just want that silence, you want that just everything about it. I know Jake, I just fucked up. And someone opened a bag of popcorn. And it's like just like rustling half through the film, and just like everyone's eyes turned, and just like, and I was just like, I'm gonna kill you. I'm actually gonna outside now.
Yeah, I agree. That is like definitely one of the coolest things about the movie theater experience for this is like everybody was like on their best behavior in a sold out movie. Like no one even wanted to like touch their popcorn. Like there was a guy who was going to grab popcorn. His girlfriend like literally like hit him hard and was like, "Don't fucking like." She's like, "Shh!" Like literally, there was shushing amongst parties. It was heaven. Like because when I mean, I know we all miss movie theaters now, but once in a while when you went to a movie theater, it really sucked because no one would shut up. This movie and the directing like caused people to really actually behave in a movie theater like unanimous. It was great.
Which I find interesting because I love to go see silent movies in theaters. Back when theaters were open, and there's some of the most raucous theaters I've seen because silent films evoke that in you, especially silent comedies. So it's interesting that A Quiet Place is a silent film, and the whole audience has to be silent, which is like so awkward for me when I'm like,
yeah, it's not like it's used like in a different way than like a silent film for sure, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
I guess the difference between that and silent film is that because you know the knowledge of sound in there and the way that it's just the second any pin drop of a sound happens, just like your heart just goes like flutter.
Well, it's also like a horror movie, so horror and comedy they are actually not diametrically opposed, but there are different atmospheres in a theater when you go see a horror as opposed to a comedy.
Sorry, I'm completely distracted because I got a sneak peek at what Scott's pick is, and I'm so excited about it. Sorry.
Yeah, I submitted it in the chat in case I didn't make it back, but it looks like I am back for now.
Yeah, Tony jumped you. We acted like you were the
Oh, that's
Baltimore Ravens and this window.
Sports.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be sports ball, ladies and gentlemen who don't pay attention.
I apologize for the issues. Sometimes
No.
it's beyond your control, but
Not at all. Anybody else want to add in on A Quiet Place before we head over to Scott to close out the draft? Going once, going twice. Anybody? Okay, Scott.
It's a really good trailer. Like one of the best trailers ever. I watched it after the movie, and the trailer for The Quiet Place is amazing. I watch trailers after movies. That's why they call them trailers.
All right then, Scott, fire away.
yeah, I do enjoy A Quiet Place as well. My last pick, somehow my favorite director has not come up yet on the show, and I kind of just thought if I waited till the last round, there'd be something there because there are so many movies that you could pick from this guy, and just picking one was difficult. But I will choose what is objectively my favorite, and also the movie where all three people involved with the movie are technically eligible because the director and the two stars co-wrote the movie together, and that is the second film in the Before trilogy, Richard Linklater's Before Sunset.
Scott officially wins my vote.
Yeah, I knew I got Peggy with this one. Yeah, this is the best trilogy of all time, in my opinion. It's just absolutely beautiful. And when you go back and rewatch it, like, it's just mind-blowing the way that certain things were set up in the first movie without them even knowing that 9 years later they would make a second, and then 9 years after that they would make a third one. Like, the symmetry of all the movies is kind of incredible. But Before Sunset takes the cake. I love the way that the movie is structured because you watch it, you think, oh, this is just a super free-form conversation. There's not that much going on here. But then you realize that Linklater's been in control the entire time. There's this ticking clock aspect to Jesse's plane is going to leave, and he has to ultimately make a decision about what he's going to do at the end of the movie. And yeah, this is my favorite ending in movie history, where the movie chooses to end. The final line, the final shot is perfect. It really, from the moment they get in the car and start going back to Celine's apartment, like that's movies have never been better than that in my opinion. So I had to get Linklater in there just for the on-brand pick. And yeah, this is my favorite one of his movies, my favorite of the trilogy. But I could have easily picked, of course, Everybody Wants Some, Dazed and Confused, Boyhood. Go down the list.
Linklater was in my top 10 actually with Slacker.
Yeah, another great choice.
He's great. But yeah, Before Sunset is actually also my favorite of that trilogy. I love the compactness. I love the free form, like you said, but it's so in control. The ending's great. I've seen many sentiments where people are like, I haven't seen Before Midnight because I like the happy ending of Before Sunset, and they don't want to go to the realness that is Before Midnight.
It's understandable.
Yeah, but I mean, it is taken as a trilogy. Even if they never made a fourth one, it is such this great exercise in time, and Linklater's so obsessed with time, and I think that film and Boyhood are great sort of counterpieces to one another. You can see almost Boyhood as like a postscript to that trilogy. And I think Sunset's a great choice. It's such a beautiful movie. I mean, that is legitimately a date movie. They could actually have a great art house date movie. You don't have to come out going, "Why did you drag me to that?" It's like, because it's a wonderful movie. Yes, no, you can just understand that it's just a great movie and it's gorgeous. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And just to ad nauseum go on and on about the trilogy as a whole, as I do, one thing I've never really mentioned is that you couldn't make this movie nowadays. Like Before Sunrise was basically made at the exact right time, like right before the internet became like a huge thing, and they would have definitely found one another at some point in time and that. But they had so little to go on that it warranted the ninth. Like you bought into Before Sunset. So I don't know. I find that fascinating that she made it at the exact perfect time. I think so.
Which then bring it to Before Midnight. That is a point, and that they make it Before Midnight is the use of technology to stay in touch.
Yeah. You don't get that I wonder where they are now, because you can just sit there and internet stalk people.
Thanks, Zuckerberg.
But I think that's an excellent way to close out the draft, even if we did go a little bit out of order at the end. Anybody else want to chime in on this pick before Tony recaps the whole thing?
Yeah, this is something I'm going to need to revisit because the one reason I did watch it for the very first time was to debate against it on a film debate show. So I went and looked at it in the most nitpicky way possible, and therefore did not enjoy it as intended, because I very much wanted to sing the praises of Sergio Leone.
The wild film fight.
Oh, that is it. Yeah. I want to see that argument now, or I want to see them swap over.
Yeah, it's available on YouTube somewhere.
Send Tony the link.
Yes, I will. But it was a debate for the greatest trilogy of all time, and so I really went and looked and nitpicked the Before trilogy, and so I don't think I appreciate it as much as I probably should. It's something that everyone tells me is the greatest thing ever to watch, and I very much enjoyed it when I did watch it. But I had also previously watched the Three Colors trilogy like a week or two before it, and my mind immediately compared the two. And because I was being so nitpicky, I had in my mind placed Kieslowski's sort of three masterpieces ahead of these, and it was just a whole bunch of things that my mind was not in the right place to watch these movies.
Well, because Julie Delpy's in all three movies as well.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Really. Also,
well, I'd be very interested in your reaction should you choose to revisit it with a different set of eyes.
Just quickly, the Before trilogy is one of the best trilogies of all time for now, because of course Paddington 3 has been announced today. The Bear returns.
Criterion box set when of Paddington?
Yeah, for real.
So that bear, just everything. It took everything not to just pick Paul King for either of those films.
Just anticipate it. Be like, Paddington 3 is my pick.
Yep.
But
Even
hey, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say we've reached the end of the draft. We're done, guys. We ran a little bit of overtime, but that's all right. So might as well get a move on. Tony, give us a recap, and everyone in the chat start shouting out ones that we miss.
Absolutely. Okay, so Niko went first overall. He went with Citizen Kane for Orson Welles, then Wonder for Barbara Loden, Tootsie for Sidney Pollack, Rashomon for Akira Kurosawa, and Finding Nemo for Andrew Stanton. I think that's the first time ever Rashomon and Finding Nemo has been on the list together. I love it. Aaron went next. He went Portrait of a Lady on Fire for Celine Sciamma, About Time for Richard Curtis, Punch Drunk Love for Paul Thomas Anderson, Midsommar for Ari Aster, and Mulholland Drive for David Lynch. Patrick went to Schenectady, New York for Charlie Kaufman. Why is the American movie the one I'm going to struggle to sustain the most? Memories of Murder for Ban Joon-ho, Son of Soul for Laszlo Nemes, Code Unknown for Michael Haneke, and not Antigone.
but kind of, because it's a French Canadian movie, so they say it once again. So yeah,
that's how you say it. Scott. Yep. Scott went Do the Right Thing with Spike Lee, Inglourious Bastards for Quentin Tarantino, Francis Howard Get a Girlie, Searching for Niche Giganti, and Before Sunset for Richard Linklater. And then me finishing up Rocky Sylvester Stallone, Ruby Sparks, Zoe Kazan, This is Spinal Tap, Rob Reiner, Chef for John Favreau, and A Quiet Place, John Krasinski.
It's going to be an interesting poll when the poll goes up. But we're going to try and hurry and get you guys out of here. So we're going to combine your guys. You're going to name a few of your honorable mentions and then also plug anything like social media handles, any shows you got coming up, whatever you want to promote. Have at it. Niko, we will start with you.
Okay, so some ones I really wanted to pick were Charlie Chaplin for Modern Times.
Okay.
I really wanted to pick Jean Renoir with The Rules of the Game, and Wallace Shawn for My Dinner with Andre. Mike White for School of Rock was also on my short list. Of course, Kieslowski with Three Colors Blue, Kristen Wiig for Bridesmaids, Seth Rogen in Superbad, Elaine May for A New Leaf, Gene Kelly Singing in the Rain, Luis Buñuel for Los Olvidados. I could go on and on. But of course, Billy Wilder, The Apartment, I should give it up. Billy Wilder, probably the greatest screenwriter in the history of cinema. So good. If you want to just learn about great screenwriting, again, I'm a screenwriter myself. If you want to learn about great screenwriting, study his films. They're absolutely, beautiful, gorgeous, heartbreaking, heart-affirming, soul-affirming, life-affirming. God, the guy could do it all.
Don't mention The Apartment.
I just saw Irma La Douche for the first time this weekend.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, so those are just, Jane Campion, Alfonso Cuarón. Really, I had also an extensive list going down to 77, down to Michael Moore and Roger and Me. It was a lot of fun to think of various individuals to pick. Charles Burnett, Killer of Sheep, which is also a film I want to shout out. Killer of Sheep is great. It's also one of those great kind of unknown kind of hidden gems of American cinema. If you love Boys in the Hood, Killer of Sheep's a great sort of predecessor to that. Those were just some of my picks. It was really hard to narrow down to 5, but it was great to sort of pick like which ones do I want to kind of bring to the forefront and represent what's a good variety. And I feel like I picked a pretty good crop.
I think you got a good squad.
And Fellini, I also wanted to shout out Fellini with 8.5, also one of the great screenplays ever written. Fellini, 8.5 is, to me, the greatest film about filmmaking ever, about directing films and making them and creative blocks and all that jazz. For me, plugging, in the description, you can find a link to my Film Freeway page. Thank you for dropping out, which is my latest film that I made. It is my thesis film. It is one that I'm super proud of. I spent a year going from script to now editing it, and it's been a ride, and I'm so proud of everyone that's worked on it, despite the hecticness of it all. It really has produced something I think truly wonderful and gorgeous that I hope I can put up as my own, 8.5 or something, for now until I make my next masterpiece. But like for real, the Film Freeway page is in there. Trailer's going to be up pretty soon, within the next maybe month or so. Still working on things. But right now, that's what I'm working on. If you want to check out my films, come in there and find me on Facebook again. I'm really open to any friend requests, as long as you don't stalk me. Please do not stalk and send me threatening messages, because I will not respond.
That's
all
fair.
right. I'm sorry. I sent one.
Damn it. That was you?
Well, Godspeed in your future filmmaking endeavors, Niko, and hopefully you come back and join us on another future episode of Fantasy Film Fights. Happy to have you aboard.
Of course. If you do one about food, I'm more than happy to come back and do films about food.
It might come up. We go crazy with these. It's not like we always try to vary it up. So very, very possible.
I did list.
All right, cool. Aaron, what you got?
Yeah, great list for
Don't name all
everybody.
200. Don't name all 200.
Number 199. But great list, everybody. First and foremost, seriously, usually there's at least one list where I can't stand each of the picks and I just get to hate on it. But Tony decided to step up today, so it's a Dear Diary moment. But no, I'm kidding. But Yeah, a few to plug. I just saw this movie this morning, Yi Yi, which I may be pronouncing incorrectly, but it's Edward Chang's masterpiece. It's absolutely beautiful piece of work. It's 3 hours long, but you want to live in this world forever, and it just feels like a brief moment, and it hits every emotion that is possible in one film. It's absolutely amazing. Blew me away. The Lobster, Yorgos Lanthimos. Yorgos Lanthimos is one of my favorite directors, and this is my favorite movie ever. So I know it's not the best, but I love The Lobster. Right time, right place, or wrong time, right place for it. Chungking Express, Wong Kar-wai. Wong Kar-wai is a master. It's kind of a shame he didn't make this list, since he also is one of my favorites of all time, and Chungking Express is my favorite of his. So check that one out. That Thing You Do, Tom Hanks.
Hey!
Yep.
There's more of my speed.
Yeah. Brazil, Terry Gilliam. Great. The Gift, Joel Edgerton. Sing Street, John Carney.
Nice.
Friday, Ice Cube. Pineapple Express, Seth Rogen. Her, Seth Jones. Stanley Kubrick, Clockwork Orange. Inside Llewyn Davis, Coen Brothers. Annihilation, Alex Gray. And Wings of Desire, Wim Zender.
And plugs?
Plugs, Digesting Cinema. Episode 7 is out now with Aaron and Christina. We covered silent films. We covered the first rom-com in Girl Shy, 1924's Harold Lloyd starring, and just absolutely great time to discuss with Christina. Next week we have Black and White. We're allowing guests at all times at this point. We've had Peggy on, we've had Tony on, we're going to have Patrick on soon. Hopefully Niko can make a appearance as well. Just check out the featured presentation letterbox challenge. Just pick a week that you want. We're going along with that in order of that list. So if you see a subject or movie you really want to talk about and give us your views on, we'd love to have you on. But yeah, Digesting Cinema. Check it out on all podcast platforms. Really proud of that. Episode 7 is up now, and my favorite episode so far. But each week I'm saying that, so it doesn't mean anything.
Okay.
Doesn't mean anything.
I'm really looking to be in the podcast, and I would love to join your motley crew over there. So
Nice.
Yeah, Niko, everybody. Scott's going to be on. I mean, I don't think there's a doubt that we'll have you on. So we'll definitely be talking to you soon, Niko. Great job in your first episode. Also, I've been on this show 900 times because I asked every week.
Great to see everyone's picks.
Yeah, this was my favorite episode of this show too. I think this is my favorite group of 25 movies ever. I would literally pick any of them to watch right now. Like this level of film, it's cool. This show is so cool how it can go through different ranges of the types of movies picked. And I was really glad to get on for this episode. So thank you sincerely for having me on.
Is that my internet cutting out? Damn it.
It looks like it. So Patrick, do you want to hit a few of yours?
Yes, Aaron going before me provides an excellent transition because the film I mentioned that I almost picked for the 6th round that I want to have as my number 6 is The Ascent, a Russian film from the mid-1970s by Larissa Shepitko, a director who was sadly gone far too soon. And she created the darkest, bleakest masterpiece you could ever hope to imagine. A couple of my English, actually, one more foreign language honorable mention: Clouds of Sils Maria, which is sort of foreign language but not really. And then sort of English movies: Nightcrawler, Virgin Suicides, Boots Riley's Sorry to Bother You. Last year's my favorite film of last year, Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always. Eliza Hittman is a genius.
Yes.
And the only comedy that made my list, and the blackest comedy possible, Armando Iannucci's The Death of Stalin. As for plugs, I have none. Don't follow me on Twitter. I scream like a lunatic. You can maybe follow my letterbox. I make reviews that are just really dumb one-line jokes about random innocuous things and generally bad movies.
That's fair enough. Tony, I guess throw Harvey.
Yeah,
Scott's.
absolutely. So just quickly, Scott's Heat, Thoroughbred, Double Indemnity, Spotlight, and Eat, Drink, Man, Woman. And for Scott, Some Like It Scott, available on podcast feeds. This they released last week. They did the 2021 Sundance recap, really interesting. And then prior to that, it was Mr. Aaron J over there and Paul Oyama, that guy from the Schmodown. They did a 2-part series on the top 10 films of 2020. That I've got it up here. lasted over 4.5 hours.
They're trying to be like Aaron.
Fantastic, really fantastic. Listen, I would suggest anyone, especially like if you like this show, this version of this show, go listen to something like It's Got, because it's like that every week.
Yeah.
Then for me, I should say Tropic Thunder, Ben Stiller. I think he's a highly underrated director. Gary Sinise from Of Mice and Men. It's one of those ones where it's just like, this movie has no right to be this good, but it is. Play Misty for me from Clint Eastwood. Dennis Hopper for Easy Rider. Matt Damon for Good Will Hunting. And that's it. That's not been mentioned on my list. And I'll just quickly bring up a few comments on these. If Peggy, you have anything you want to quickly say?
Albert Brooks, Defending Your Life, as Garth says right off the top. That would be my number one out the gate. But other than that, I'm good.
Fair enough. All right. I was going to pick Braveheart, but I don't think I've actually seen it all the way through, so I didn't want to cheat.
The Miyazaki shout out is pretty good. The lack of Ghibli is unfortunate, but there's too many to choose from.
I actually was going to choose for animated out of 3 was Finding Nemo, I ultimately picked, but also Totoro and It's Such a Beautiful Day by Don Hertzfeldt. It's probably my favorite film of 2012, and I also wanted to bring that up as an honorable mention. I love that movie.
And then, Tony, what you got coming up on featured presentations?
Absolutely. Okay, so this week, so tomorrow, FPTL, the Premier League podcast feed, that's going to be released. It'll be George Fitzpatrick versus Adelaide Spence. That was a really fun match. So that'll be released. The sign-up sheet for FPTL is still available, so if you want to play, put your name down. The match will be set up tomorrow. So that'll be Sunday. Week on Saturday, we're doing multiple choice mailsham, which is a case where anyone can play along. It's 40 questions, all multiple choice questions. This month is Nicolas Cage and Coppola family. That's all there. So, yep, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. And the questions for the daily question time thing we do on Instagram is already up. So, Feature Presentation Production on there. And yeah, that's everything, I believe.
Yeah, I think so. And then, as for me, I am at Peggy B-Ball across all media platforms that I am a part of. And you catch me here every Wednesday for Fantasy Film Fights. Next week, we are drafting favorite movie teachers. It is going to be a fun one. I am excited for it. But it has been a fun one today. And we had to say goodbye, sadly. But look for the poll coming out probably later tonight. I got to watch a couple movies based on this draft beforehand. But for myself, Niko, Aaron, Patrick, Scott, who is no longer with us, but we appreciated him being on, Tony, and myself. We'll see you next week. Have a good one. Bye, guys.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and please don't forget to vote. That was awesome.
I thought it raked.
Who's winning?
Let's see who wins.
You're gonna win.
Nothing personal. It's really gonna matter.
Tune in next week.
You see what happens?
Brand new.
Episode?
Fantasy film fight.
Doesn't matter who wins, because they're all losers.